I am.
And we are live with
You.
Josh
What's up?
from HighCut Drywall.
Hi. Cut drywall.
What did I say?
No, I'm just
Oh,
reiterating it.
yeah. And that's amazing, dude.
Yeah, I'll start that. Just drip right down my sweatshirt.
Dope. So, what did you say? You just threw your fucking back out?
Yeah, I was messing with my kids, and I went to do the old, you go like throw something at them, you
Oh,
toss it over your
yeah.
shoulder, and I spun, and feeling old. It's gonna be tight in the morning. That's okay. I got a day of recovery before I go back to work, so we're good.
It's only because we're old as fuck.
Yeah. I know I'm not actually old, but I'm feeling old. I think it's drywall.
So, I had a small amount left in my Jose Cuervo bottle. So, I procured a drink and I'm gonna.
Just one. I'm only gonna have one drink.
Mhm. I thought it was a classy way to drink with you on the podcast.
That's nice. Well, it looks like my wife used to get those like pre-mixed bottles of Cuervo margarita. Same
Oh
thing.
my God, that'd be dangerous.
It's brutal. The worst heartburn you've ever had in your life, but they tune you up.
But they go down smooth.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, blend it up with some ice. It's so good.
Oh man. Back in the day, there was this creamsicle drink, and it
Ooh,
just came in a big jug, and you all you would do is add ice to it, and it would
yeah.
crush up, and it tasted exactly like when you bite a creamsicle, the
Oh
orange and
my
the cream.
God. That's so good too.
You just get plastered because you're fat.
Yeah. We used to just do Pinnacle whipped vodka and Sunkist. Same thing.
Oh,
But I mean, between the calories, so much alcohol because it tastes so good, you just drink too much of it.
oh, dude. I think about when I was in like the worst shape of my life. I was drinking like 7 days a week, and it was like a bunch of like fruity shit. Like everything
Yeah,
tasted delicious.
yeah,
Vodka and juice and
yeah, with
things
a
like
Red
that.
Bull upside down in it.
Exactly. A- And then you're like, I'm not eating that much food. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you don't eat that much food, so you get more mileage out of your alcohol.
you're
That's how that
drinking,
works.
you're
Yeah,
drinking a lot of calories, pal.
drinking all of it. Yeah.
Mm. You know what Costco had?
So,
These are dope. There's the Zoas.
oh, I've seen those.
That's the
Is
rocks.
that the rocks? Yeah,
Yeah, man, it's good. It's nothing
are
in
they
it.
good?
Like 10 calories, no sugar, it's a couple of vitamins and shit in there, but like they've been dope, man. They come in this big box and they're about the size of a Red Bull.
Yeah,
Yeah, been all right.
not bad. I've been crushing those Black Rifle coffee, like the coffees you can buy at the gas station. They're so good, but they're loaded with sugar, so you got to be careful with those.
There's a caramel one or
That's the one I
caramel.
get.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's the fucking
that
best,
and the
dude.
vanilla. They're so good. Too good.
Uh, Anytime that I'm driving in the States, that's my first thing that I go to. I get like some kind of like food that is totally shit but delicious.
Yeah.
And the Black Rifle
Yeah.
pre-drinks, man, they're so good.
Yeah, they are. I love those. But again, calories. It's
Oh yeah.
horrible. Something you have to think about as you get older.
And that doesn't mean that you're counting calories. But what it
Hmm.
does mean is like, do I want to eat this thing that probably tastes like shit compared to like I could do XYZ instead?
Right.
That's now
Right.
you're thinking. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
It's like don't not do things. Just
Yeah.
do them correctly.
Yeah. I remember my buddy, he actually was the singer in my band, and he was like, I think at the time I was like 17 and he was 21. And even at that time, he's like, man, like at 21, the older I get, the more my body tells me what I can't eat. And
Yeah.
now I'm like 34. I'm like, man, yeah, definitely feel that.
Yeah.
You can't even stare at a piece of pizza without getting bubble guts.
Burgle, burgle, burgle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I gotta like worry about who I'm working with the next day.
yeah, yeah. Well, I work with my uncle, and he's just a human trash can, so I don't really have to worry about it.
Perfect. Yeah, dude. That's crazy, eh? When's that next house for Dana coming up?
Uh, I just drove by it yesterday, and it's all roughed in. It's all weather tight. They're probably doing rough in right now, but it's a good
Dope.
sized place. It's like a 3,500, 4,000 square foot house. So it's going to be a little while before the roofing's done, all the installation and shit. So probably end of January, I'm guessing. But
And then,
they're supposed to break ground on that, his gym at some point. He wanted that gym to be done for this 4th of July when he comes up again. They're like, no way. There's just no way unless you brought in a huge commercial company to come in and do it.
yeah,
It's just out of the cards. So,
which is insane to me. The guy's a fucking billionaire.
well, I literally said that to my wife yesterday. We were having lunch. I'm like, the contractor's lucky that Dana just doesn't go, I'll just bring somebody else in and do it. Like he's staying, faithful to him,
Oh,
keeping the
he's
work
like,
there.
yeah, hey, John. I know we
Yeah,
went to high school together, but
right,
for all the
right,
money that I have,
right. One
but it's,
phone call, he could just have it done.
oh, somebody come do it for free.
Yeah, yeah. He's like
For
buying up all the houses in this subdivision because he just wants to own it all. That was the first one he was able to buy. Like, I'm
literally,
gonna build a big old shop or gym for him and his buddies.
that's
Like, hey,
dope.
right on, do it. I'll mutter up.
Dude, our lottery got to $80 million.
Oh,
And I like I don't buy lottery tickets because
no,
you're never gonna
I never
fucking
do.
win. But when it's
No,
$80 million, I'm like,
you
yeah,
kind of have to.
I'll put $20 into that. And then
Yep.
you've purchased like a stamp to daydream for the
Yeah.
next fucking
Yeah.
six
Oh,
days.
what am I gonna do with this 80 million?
Oh, dude, we'd have a
Nothing, because you're not gonna win it.
we'd have a compound, dude.
Yeah. I've done it too. I just bought one of the YouTube pages I follow. They're doing a giveaway with a truck, a trailer, and a race car. Every five
Dope.
bucks you spend gets you an entry. So I'm like, oh, I'll buy a keychain. $10 keychain, just a little like turbocharger keychain. I get it, I'm like, oh man, that's gonna go right on the key to my new truck when I win it. You know, not gonna happen.
I
But
know, right?
you can dream.
The sad truth of it all.
Yep. Yeah, I should have got on YouTube when it first came out, back when I was a freshman in high school.
Dude,
Too late for that.
I think I'm
I
taking
say
the
that, I mean, you're doing this, so I guess it's not too late.
I was gonna say, I think I'm about to hop on YouTube.
I'd do it.
I think so, man. And just like have somebody walk through for the week, like process. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? What
Yeah.
tools are we using? You know what I
Yep.
mean? Just because why not? Like it's gonna take a
Yeah.
fucking afternoon and then see what
Right.
kind of response we get from it. But
Well,
I
there is a
think that'd
market
be
for that
dope.
stuff too,
Fuck yeah, man.
not only like the entertainment side of it, but it's also like instructional. Like people kind of want to know that, especially if they're new to it and they're trying to get their footing. It's good to have that kind of information.
I was talking to Cam's brother about, we talk a bunch now.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're talking about like media people and this and that. And he brings up OnlyFans and he's like talking about how originally it was not meant for that. It was going to
Yeah.
be, you know what I mean? And then it
Yeah.
very quickly took a left turn.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're talking about starting a Brawley's Dad OnlyFans. And then it's just people following me around all day. And
Yeah.
then with their like clips and shit, that's like their payment. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's a hell of an
That's
idea.
that's not bad.
I've run it by a few people, and there was a hard no response. Like this was not a up for discussion thing. I was like, all right,
All right, scratch that.
a fella can dream.
Hmm.
Um, I had a thought one time about when guys started doing the OnlyFans of just like for every like $10 you chug a beer, or every $50 you chug a beer.
I could
And
get dangerous if he got real popular though.
dude, some rich guy there just trying to kill you.
Yeah,
You
thousand
know,
bucks.
$1,000, you
You're
just like,
done.
oh man.
My buddy just sent me a picture of it was a bottle of Everclear with a bottle of
Oh,
Fireball, drove into it, and he's got a hole punch. He's like gonna shotgun it. Yeah, like that's what that makes me think of right there. Some rich asshole. Do it.
that'd be amazing though.
Instant alcohol poisoning, but
Oh yeah, you'd die for sure.
it's a good
You'd
picture.
you'd be close for that
Yeah.
$1,000.
Yeah. And pay for your ambulance ride to the hospital.
Yeah, right. Oh, good times, man.
Hmm.
Kind
So
of,
how you been?
I've been good, man. Just getting back on track and shit and like getting back working.
Yeah.
This job is really like the first like smash it out job since like October.
Yep.
I took one that had like a stupid amount of detail. Like I posted it on my stories, but like every door had like a walk-through window with that had to be beaded, and there
Oh
were like
yeah. Oh, that's a pain in the ass.
niches in the walls made out of drywall, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, and everything was fucked. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed that site, but it was a slow process. I think it was 4,000
Yeah.
board feet, took like a week and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. That's rough.
It was good. I enjoyed
But
it.
you price them right and you enjoy, yeah, it's good. It's fun work. I don't mind doing stuff like that. It's when you get on like a 15,000 board footer and it's all of that,
Yes.
that's when it's like monotonous and you can't see the end.
I
And then
kind
when
of
you get to sanding, it's like, damn it, that
like
sucks.
you almost have to have like a 3 day sand, and you just,
Yeah, I
you
plan
know,
for it. Once you get over like 250 sheets, like I just plan for 3 days just to be safe. Usually
yeah.
can knock it out in two, touch up, sweep, and get out of there, but something like that, you're better off. Even just put a week on it just in case,
Hmm.
you know. You never know what's going to end up happening.
Yeah, now that I've gotten in, like I got in with Umbrella, and Nick's a gem, man. He's like done a bunch of marketing, and like he's got these really nice sites.
Yep.
And like the biggest one was like 8,100 or something. And
Yep.
that is a good size for a single
That's
ta
perfect for one
taper.
guy.
It
Yep.
is,
It
right? And
is.
then you take your 2 weeks or whatever you're going to take to make it pristine. It's like
Yep.
a run around.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was good, man. This last one, I think it's 4,400 feet.
Yep.
But the bead detail is like 300 feet of bullnose,
Oh God.
and then like 8 windows that have to be tearaway bead around the windows. So
Oh yeah.
we charged for that.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, dude, I finished putting on bead yesterday.
Ugh.
We had just been crushing through the site, and it's just
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay, I'm gonna do bead until I cut the shit out of my fingers, or I'm
Yeah.
like done doing it, you know?
Yeah. Is that the one you and Brad are doing?
Dude, yeah, he's a
Yeah.
monster.
Oh, I can tell. His shit's always just so perfect and clean.
Yeah, there's like I always said people are gonna be sick of me saying the Jedi training, but like
Yeah.
he is like unfucking believable with the
He
boxes.
thinks he thinks into it so much further than
Oh yeah.
anybody I've seen. Like really breaks it down. It's just the shit you never even contemplate when you're just running the tool.
No.
Those little minute things that really, tighten you up and keep your boxes tuned up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
It's so there's kind of this like level where you're running the boxes. There's that level where like now everything's getting crisp and straight and you're doing things with intention. And then
Yep.
there's like this new level. It's like watching Dragon Ball every time I fucking hang out with Brad. There's like a
Yeah.
new fucking
Yeah, yeah.
and that like top level in my opinion is you're now using the tools as hand tools.
Yeah.
Like you're doing all your beads with it, you're doing all
Yeah.
like essentially everything.
Yeah.
I don't think he touched a hand tool till like day 5.
No shit.
It
That's
was
funny because I remember him saying that on one of his stories. Like, I
yeah,
don't touch a knife until like the fourth day on the job,
no.
usually. I'm like, man, I wonder if I can do that.
You
I
could.
get pretty close, pretty close. I like, cleaning up a little bit, but for the majority of it, unless
Oh yeah,
I,
any
I,
tape.
I
Sorry, go
don't
ahead.
really box my beads that much anymore. I don't know. I'm not that good at it. I'm not fast enough to justify doing it, I guess is
Mhm.
really what it is because I haven't put the time in. And I guess if I really wanted to, I could, but I don't know. Maybe I
It's
should.
it's that like process of getting it down, of like just
Yeah.
how you want it to finish, and then just like
Yeah.
making 3 layers to make it like that. Because like
Yeah.
you don't have to ride the bead. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. And I
You
think
can
that's why I stopped doing, I was getting frustrated because I'd always be like puking it off the edge of the bead.
mhm.
And I started noticing, watching other guys do it, that they would ride off of like on the inside of it, like an eighth
Yeah,
inch.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, why don't I just do that and then hand skim it? Like that would make more sense,
Or run a
you know,
larger box over
or run
top
a
of it.
larger,
Like
right,
there's
right.
tons of things you can do. It's
Yep. No, go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
you go ahead. Let's
Burping and
go.
talking and just.
Ah.
Now I've been running that yeah, cheers, brother. I've been running that old that blue Columbia 10 inch that I got off a buddy. And
Yes.
I don't even know how old that box is. I'm gonna guess like 20 years old probably.
If it's
Um
blue,
yeah, it's blue.
yeah, man.
Runs great. but it doesn't have bead wheels or anything on it. They're just like
Hmm.
shitty plastic wheels. I should upgrade them, but I think that was the main reason I didn't box bead with it because I couldn't really get it to ride right, and I was more focused on like because the Tape Tech boxes with the bead wheels, you kind of use that wheel as a like a guide, like a
Yeah,
jig, basically, and I can't do that with that Columbia box, so I just stopped doing it. But I probably should because the next couple I have are loaded with corner bead, so that time is of the essence on that if I'm going to do a full second coat in one day. So
totally.
you know, that's usually my goal is a second coat in one day, no matter the size of the house.
So what kind of beads are you using? And then are you installing them?
Yeah, I install all of it. It's all trim techs usually, unless the contractor provides it. Actually, the one I just finished, the contractor had provided the bead, and it came from Ware and Butler as a supplier, and it was the worst corner bead I've ever used in my life. It was
Boo.
vinyl, but the flange was like I don't know, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch shorter or thinner than trim techs, and it was
Right.
very stiff. So it was really hard to get it to sit onto the corner. And if you tried to force it flat and staple it, you ended up with waves. You couldn't even put a straight edge on it because it's so stiff. You couldn't like do it all in one shot. And I'm by myself, so I don't. It's not like I have an extra set of hands to help drive it. So it's basically pound the glue to it, hold it up there till it sets, and eyeball it, make sure it's straight, and go for it. But now it's deep, like way
Yeah.
deeper than it should be. I had some I was over 16 inches wide on them, and they were still hollow. I'm like, holy crap! I should not have put this on. I should have just told them to take it back. And but they were totally happy with it. Hollow in the sense of over 18 inches. You throw a 10 on it, it's fine. But I
Hmm.
can see it looking. Some of it was like a little soffit deal. In the main area of the house, I was kind of like, I'm really not happy with that, and even kept going wider and wider, and I still wasn't happy with it. But homeowner and the contractor stood there and said, I don't know what the hell you're looking at. Looks great. Like, all right, check. Let's go. Get me out of here.
I mean, there's always parts of every project where it's like, I'm not happy
Yeah,
with that. So then you do some extra and you do some extra, but like some
yeah,
things it would be, floating out 4 feet to try
yeah.
and
And
fix
that's
something that nobody's gonna fucking see. Like,
right. That's the
it-
thing. You're so fixated on it at that time too, because when you're in that process of the job, there's nothing in the house. And
right.
you're standing in a spot that you probably won't even be able to stand once the islands are in, furniture's in. You'd probably never stand in that one spot and look down this corner bead like I am right now. And I'm up on it a few times too, because I'm coating it. I'm up on it with a light. And you always, you're for our worst critics anyways. So it's just how it goes. But
S-
everybody's happy. I was happy with the end. I saw it painted. It looked good. Everything looked great. You never see that it had a little bit of hollow spot in it, but I'll never use that corner bead again. That's for damn sure. Trim
Dude.
techs all the way.
Um, so we did um the small bullnose in Surrey.
Yep.
Um, and then there was this huge fireplace and we finished it to a level 3. We like beaded the whole thing. Everything was mint. And then we see the pictures come out and it is surrounded with rock,
Oh,
like big rocks. We could have left it
could have
fucking
just left it.
drywall.
Oh my God. That always bums me out.
Oh man, like the
Even
amount of
like, yeah, no, go ahead.
just the amount of stuff, like you see the millwork going, you're like, oh yeah, that huge wall, and oh yeah, that, and oh
Yeah,
yeah, that, and it's like we spent a lot of time making stuff
yeah,
look really good that's fucking hidden.
just cover. Yeah. That sucks too. It's like you put that much effort into it, and then one quick conversation with the builder or homeowner could have just stopped all of that. You wouldn't even have to waste any time on it. But it's also good practice,
I was gonna say I'm a firm believer in just doing everything. Like we got two built-in
Same.
areas in this one too, and the guy was super honest about it. But we're like, so
Yeah.
like,
No,
what if it's not? What if you
yep,
change your mind and then it
yep.
takes 2 seconds?
The same way with hitting screws around a door or a
Hmm.
window. Just do it. You're there to do the whole job. And worst case, it gets covered up, or you know, trim doesn't cover it. Even if you just put one coat of mud on it, at least then a little bit of spackle, it'll be done. You
That
don't have to worry about it.
that's what I do.
You know, it,
One coat, my hand, like my
yep,
hand coat, every
yep,
screw in the house gets hit. But then when it comes
yep,
to the spotters, I leave the stuff that's going to be hidden by trim. I don't
yep,
know.
same. I usually hit the ones around doors and windows when I'm doing corner bead with hot mud. That way
Hmm.
they're like full and they don't suck back very much. And then worst case, you skim it with some tobacco when you're painting.
Yeah,
If it looks like it's too far out, I'll just hit it with the spotter while I'm running around, but I don't go
nice.
crazy, you know.
So
No sense in it.
what's your process with beads then? So like you um glue, are you
Yep.
stapling?
hmm Staple if necessary. If there's like waves and it doesn't want to sit, I'll staple it. But I really never found it necessary to be completely honest.
You just glue it.
I just glue it and be thorough with the glue,
Yeah.
obviously. And I staple anywhere you're joining them. If you got a long run, I
Yep.
staple and tape. I never tape my bead. I've never found that necessary either. And yesterday was a perfect example. Beaded this house. I had one doorway I wrapped, and after wrapping the top of the doorway, I think I sent you a Snapchat of it actually.
Hmm.
It was had a such I never even saw it when I was up on it. It had a huge curve into it. And I
Oh,
looked down the wall, I'm like, oh my God, that's awful. So I jumped up and had been on there for like 45 minutes, ripped the rock right off. It was just
ooh.
glue. Took chunks of rock with it. That to me, that's a perfect example of why you can just get away with gluing it. Plus, once you bed it with setting compound, it's not going anywhere. As long as you do your job gluing it, it's not going anywhere, you know?
Yeah, and I think people use too much glue. Like
Definitely.
you want to put a
Definitely.
little bit of glue on the wall,
Just dust it. Yeah. That
little
that
bit
glue
of
comes
glue.
out in a web for a reason.
Yeah,
It comes out of the can the way it's supposed to.
yeah.
I do a quick back and forth and then stick it. And that usually gives you about 45 seconds of get it on there where you need it. I'll set it and pop it with my snips, and it
Nice,
kind of like jolts it, and it'll find its line, and then you're good.
nice,
I'll spin my snips around and just use the handle and run it up and down the flange. Eyeball it, check it with a knife. If it's good, just move on. And
nice.
then before I coat them, I do the same. I do it again. I just run my hand up the flange, make sure the glue it is stuck. Because sometimes, that flange will lift a little bit. You
Yep.
don't get quite enough glue or too much glue. And it doesn't have enough time to like sit there and the glue's like, it's too wet. It just doesn't want to hold. But you give it a half hour, run your finger over it again, sets the flange down, you're good to go.
Yeah.
That's just my process. I'm sure most guys would say, "Oh, you should be stapling it every 6 inches or take the flange." I've never found it necessary unless you like metal bead. I could see
Oh
taping
yeah.
the flange, you know, but never been an issue for me. I've never had a bead let go ever. I've done hundreds of houses at this point. It's not an issue.
If I'm doing it like what I would consider to be like perfectly, I've got lots of time.
Mm,
I spray the bead, I spray the
yep,
wall, I let them
yep,
both kind of tack up a bit, and then just
yep,
like what you're saying, it just does what it does. And then you
yep,
tack it in place with staples.
yep,
That taping the bead thing was explained to me. I think it was Brian from Drywall Nation because we were talking
yep,
about like shadow bead or something.
yeah,
And he was saying that like necessity for taping the bead is when you have
yep.
fixed it through to the stud. And then any sort of movement in that wall now gets transferred to the corner bead because it's all attached. If
Oh
you're
yeah,
just
yep,
gluing and stapling like
yep,
3/8 staples,
yep.
now
No,
taping
that makes
over it
sense.
so you have like a nicer plane is always good. Like
Yeah, and it kind of fills in the flange too when
it
you do
does.
tape it. It gives you like a first coat basically,
Yeah,
which is nice. Totally. I'm not saying it's not necessary, and everybody has their and time also.
it's
When
time
it's a
consuming.
one-man band,
Hmm.
I don't have time to do that. I really don't. You know, if I was adding an extra $10 a sheet onto my price,
Hmm.
sure, I would take a whole day to do it that way, but our area, it's not like that, where it's very competitive. If you get the job, get in there, get it done, get out. Not that we're, letting quality slip.
Yeah,
Obviously, the quality's not a problem because we're insanely busy.
of
So
course.
it's more of a just we're too busy to have two guys on the job. I'm there. I just need to crank it out and I need to make good use of my time
Hmm.
is really all it comes down to. I do tape any seams, any bad spots. I do tape.
Mm.
Usually around tubs, I'll tape that flange side on the tub, shit like that. I had a weird one yesterday. The tub instead of the tub, like this, it back wall out, and then the face turns, and the beads on the face of it.
Oh shit.
I don't know if
Okay.
you've ever seen one of those. It's a pain in
No.
the ass. I've done a few of them. That was its own nightmare. I had to come up with a solution to that because, you know, you either like pack the face of that and it looks like shit.
Yeah.
Or I ended up taking a shadow bead and flipping it over. It's kind of hard to explain. I just flipped it and it filled that gap over the flange. I just backfilled the back side of that shadow bead with hot mud, crammed it in there to fill that void. It gives you a nice clean finish
So,
when you're looking at it. I'll take a picture and show you on Monday just so you get
yeah.
an idea of what I'm saying. But I was standing there with the homeowner. I'm like, I really only have one idea of what to do with this, and I'll show you. So I did it, kind of set it up, let him look at it. He's like, yep, looks great.
Hmm.
Okay. Sometimes that's more of what the job is just coming up with a solution, you know. And it was really, there's probably a better option bead wise, but my supplier only had that or like a regular tearaway or jumbo or regular bead. So that's what I came up with. Looks great. He's
What
happy.
what are your thoughts on jumbo? Like if I'm putting a 90-degree on, that I'm using jumbo.
Yeah,
I just
I
don't
like
care.
jumbo a lot for especially for bad framing.
Hmm.
It really can help straighten out curvy corners. Uh, it does eat up more mud for
Yeah,
sure. Um, but I think ease of install is really nice because it's really hard to fuck up jumbo bead, you know?
dude, you put it
So,
on the wall. Like,
right. And or if the hanger messes up and they leave the board too far back on a corner, that jumbo isn't a problem anymore. You know, you
yeah,
just stick it on there. I do like jumbo a lot. And price wise, it's really like, you're talking 30 cents more a stick,
yeah,
at least
totally.
in our area. It is worth it.
The expense with the jumbo you hit it is the extra mud, but I
Yep.
like first coat on everything's pretty well Durabond. Like
Yeah.
I
Yep.
just do like a 6-inch coat of it, or
Yep.
I've been doing this half Durabond, half um all purpose. It's
Yep.
been
I do
going
that
pretty
too.
good.
Yep.
But I like the straight Durabond, man. It's concrete to the wall. That's going
Yeah, I
nowhere.
think adding like mixing all-purpose with setting compound that you do get the plus if it's getting glue in it, especially if
Hmm.
you're taping. I've never liked the idea of paper tape and hot mud
No.
just because there's no glue in it. But my cousin used to do it, but he's like small areas. I wouldn't tape a whole house like this. He's like, but if you're doing a patch, you don't have any mesh or fiber fuse. He's like, just dip your tape in water so it's like soaking wet and then use the hot mud. And it's like my theory is it will kind of soak into the tape and kind of bond it to the wall better.
Right.
Kind of made sense, you know.
Yeah.
I've never really done it that way, but it made sense to me. But mixing the all-purpose with the hot mud definitely gives you that glue factor. And sometimes, like if you're short on hot mud, you get a lot of corner bead. You know, throw a few scoops of all-purpose in there to stretch it out
Yeah.
a little more. You know, it won't hurt anything. I wouldn't do it around a tub flange or anything like that. You want straight bond for that, but I don't see any. I've never had an issue mixing all-purpose with hot mud.
Yeah. When
We do it a
you're
lot, actually.
yeah. And
Yeah,
it slows down the dry time. Like you can mix a half a pail
yeah,
and
yeah.
bang
If
it
I needed
out.
to
Like,
recode it next day, I probably wouldn't do it. But if like Friday and it's gonna
hmm
sit all weekend, yeah, go for it.
yeah.
And I won't get back to second coating it till end of the day Monday. So definitely doable.
Something this new builder likes is the paper bead.
Yeah,
And I always didn't like it because I was like, it's not the same. It's not going to
yeah.
be as
I've never used
strong.
it.
And I'll tell you, man, like you can set up your beads around the house and then set up that hopper
Yeah,
and then like a hopper in 5 beads in like 2 minutes,
wow,
roll it out,
that's pretty
run
nice.
it. Like you are literally going like this through the machine and it is
Yeah,
perfectly coated and then onto the wall and then,
yeah,
corner cobra,
yeah.
wipe it.
I
Um,
guess if I had a setup for that, I'd like to try it because I've
dude, it's
used no
so
coat in a
fast.
pinch,
Yep.
like for a corner bead, and that stuff is, in my opinion, way more solid than vinyl.
Oh yeah.
Like it's rugged, and it gives you a really nice sharp corner too, which I do like. It
The
looks really presentable.
fast edge is like that.
Yeah,
And the legs on it, like after I get it nice and exactly where I want it, I take these like my fingers like that and I just
yep,
run it up the legs and get
yep.
all that mud out of there. And then it gives you this like 16th of an inch
Oh, that's perfect.
and it's just perfect to
Probably
use.
don't need to go nearly as wide to coat it either. If you've just got a real slight fill, then
Hmm.
you use probably 2 coats and you're done.
Yeah, I like to do that like 6 because of the Durabond, but
Yep,
it's usually like 6, 8, 10, and
yep,
the 10 is my box. Like it
yep,
planes it out nice.
yep.
Yeah, it's a
So
good deal.
when you're installing paper bead, it must be all purpose you install it with
So
for the glue factor.
I'm installing it with my taping mud. So
Yep. Okay. Yep.
the mud that I use for taping is the yellow box Certainteed.
Yep.
I'd like to find whatever CGC's version of that is, but it just seems like it's full of adhesive, right? So you
Yeah. It's
I
like the all purpose we have is that green lid. It's
yes,
just gnarly to work with, but there's so much glue in it.
you've got to be super clean with it because if you
Yep.
leave it on the wall and you try to scrape it off, it's the
Takes
wall's
paper.
coming with it, dude.
Takes
Yeah.
paper. Yeah,
Um,
I just did a whole house with that. It was off grid and it was so far off the beaten path when I got
mm,
there. He had stocked the whole house with all purpose. I'm like, oh
no.
my God. So luckily I had half a jug of no POC. I'm like, that's gonna be the key right there. And it was. And it sanded out, actually it sanded out better than the normal mud I use, which kind of blew my mind. It sanded out really nice. Hopefully it looked good after he painted it, but that whole house was a shit show anyways because it's a seasonal house. The I think like 2 days after I left, they primed it and then locked it up for the winter. Homeowners went back to Florida, no heat, no power, just off grid. I'm like,
Jeez.
oh my God, that's gonna crack all the hell. That's gonna look like ass. We told them that up front, we can't warranty this because you're not keeping it heated.
Well, it's
And
conditions. Yeah, like
it is what it is.
you could do it to the best of your ability though. Like
Well, I think the plus side is it was all done in all purpose, like full
yeah.
green lid. It might not crack. It's like concrete holding it on there except for my skim coat.
What are you skimming with?
We use Proform black lid for everything, start to finish.
Oh, you're kidding. Okay.
Yeah, I love it. It is thicker mud, it's heavy, but it doesn't fish eye nearly at all. I've used a lot of lightweights and midweights, don't like any of them. The only one I've tried that I didn't mind was plus three,
Hmm.
but it's very heavy still.
Yeah.
It's not any there was no benefit to using that over blacklit to me. And we don't have a great selection of mud up here. It's either USG or Proform for the most part. You can get Hamilton in like southern Maine. We don't get any Certainteed. So, from anywhere from the big suppliers to the in-between suppliers or Home Depot or Lowe's, or not Home Depot. Home Depot doesn't sell it, but Lowe's has blacklit. So you can get
Hmm.
blacklit pretty much everywhere, and it's super consistent. They actually just redid it. It's all coming in black buckets now. Everything comes in like a black bucket. It's like a recycled bucket, which
Nice.
they're like cool looking buckets. But the formula now it's a little softer and it doesn't take as much water to thin it down, which is kind of nice. But it's now we've noticed it takes a lot less water to like fuck up your mix to like
Ooh.
overwater it. So you have to be
Yeah.
really careful. Like I used to put like 6 or 7 spongefuls of water in my taping mud. Now it's like four. So I have to be
Really?
really careful. I'll start with two, whip it up, and it's already burping air. I'm like, oh, okay. Start one more, see how we look.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've ruined a couple buckets that way, but yeah. Proform Blacklit all the way works really good. Highly recommend it to anybody. Some guys don't like it because it is physically heavy. It's like a thicker, heavier mud. But I mean, I'm not a girl. I can run
Right.
it. It doesn't bother me. Hey, not to.
Even the girls can run
No,
it.
even the girls can run
Don't
it.
complain about how heavy the mud is.
And I've honestly never really liked any of the lightweights either. I don't like the way they coat it. You just breathe on it. It's like it comes off the wall. I never liked
Yeah, I
it.
use just machine mud,
Yep.
right? And it's super soft. Like I don't know. I just like it. I
Yep.
when I was running the machines, one of the boxes said machine in the beginning, and I was like, well, that's obviously the one. And
Yep.
it's done me a service for sure.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I don't know, like your first coats anyways, like we're running the 8 or whatever, you can put regular mud in there. It's probably better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of why I like the Proform because it doesn't really shrink that much. So like I'm generally just doing two coats on flats. Like I don't generally wipe my flats super tight. I
Okay.
kind of just like flatten them out, get a decent wipe, but I'm not wiping them out tight just to
Hmm.
kind of like leave it full, especially on ceiling. So if I don't have to get up there and touch it with my hands, I'm happy. And so I don't over wipe them to kind of at least leave something in that bevel. It's not I don't want to leave so much where it doesn't dry enough so I can coat it the next day, but I don't have any issue just running a 10 and a 12 especially with that black because it doesn't really suck back that much. As long as you do a pass down and back, you get rid of any fisheye that shows up on your first pass, they skim out great. I mean, you might get a little crease after your second coat dries just on the tape, the center of the tape where it wrinkles. Knock it down real quick with a sanding pole,
Hmm.
skim it, you're done. It's like nothing to sand.
That first coat for me is just filling that bevel, right?
It's
And
all it is. Yep, definitely.
I
Yep,
run that 8-inch box on like a 3
yep,
with like, you know, maybe half a sponge.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it's real thick and I'm
yep,
pushing the shit out of it. But that's all I use that first coat for. And that last
yeah,
coat is just saving me time on sanding, man.
yep,
It's like
yep. No, I
I
definitely understand that.
yeah.
I
But
think it comes back to being one man band.
mhm,
How much time do you have? I think if I was gonna do that, I wouldn't even consider taping angles the same day. I would
mhm,
tape butts and flats and then coat them and then tape angles the next day. So then like when I run my angle tape, it's going over a flat seam.
mhm,
I think that would make more sense to me if I was going to do it that way. And I have done that in the past. I have a seven and I'll 7, 10, 12, and I love the way it coated out, but I didn't notice any difference in the finish at the end of it. Like
right.
it wasn't a noticeable difference to me to be like, okay, I'm going to take another day and do another coat. You know what I mean? Like I guess if I was on a real high end job and they're very particular about it, I would. Or if it was an area where light's an issue,
Mhm,
but in that case, I'm hand finishing my last coat anyways. Like
right.
if it's a real highlight area, I'm doing my finish coat with a trowel, just because to know that I can at least have some say in the way it's coming out, and I can, you know, if there's any issue in the wall, I can take care of it while I'm right there and not put my faith in the jig of the box. You know what I
Right.
mean? You know,
Well, and that kind of is like that like tier system I was talking about earlier. Like just running the boxes, like getting comfortable with running the tools, a hundred
mm,
percent is faster. Like
yeah, oh
it
yeah,
is 100% faster, especially if you're
yep,
a newer person trying to
yep,
figure out a trowel and like become a gangster with it, or the
yeah,
learning curve of running a box. It's almost immediate.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but when you kind of get past that point, now you're like putting mud on the wall with intention of like I'm building little
yep.
hills and then I'm going to come back and do it
And you
again.
come
And
back
like
and fill the
there's
valleys I've created.
that's right.
Yeah.
Like strategy, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I
Um,
do that with my butts. 3 passes on my second coat, and then your skim. I just go down the middle of my two. You know what I mean?
yep.
1, 2, 3, and then 2, 2.
Yeah.
And I haven't had to hand skim a butt in a long time because of that, unless
Dude,
it's really bad.
you would throw up. So I do the 12 either side, and then I do the 12 down the middle, 1, 2, 3, and
Yeah.
then I come back with the 14, and then I skim the fucking thing super tight. It's
Yeah.
every single butt
Yeah.
joint.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that,
They
dude.
turn out
There's no,
mint, but it is
I
time
bet
consuming.
it is time consuming, and that's so I guess that's what I've focused on a lot in the last like 2 or 3 years. Just because my uncle and I have got so busy, I am basically doing houses solo at this
Hmm.
point, and we're very rarely together on a job. And if we are, it's just to tape it or help one of us sand. And I just kind of try little thing, try it this way, try it this way. Did it look good? Did I have to back up and touch anything up? Using a spotter to cover, because sometimes when you're skimming, you can't get real tight. So you got like a little line. Use the spotter to hit that line. How does it look when you sand it? Shit like that. And there's a thousand ways to do it. And it's really more about how much time do you have and what do you feel like doing? What are you confident in?
Yeah, I mean, like final skim day is basically pre-sand day. Anything I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to sand the shit out of, I just skim it
yeah.
again. Like
Just
get
skim
rid
it
of all
again.
those ridges, man.
Yeah, I'd rather
Um,
take a whole extra day to skim than sand and touch up,
100%.
you know. Make sanding predictable. That's the whole mindset.
Yeah, I mean, because when you get into that rhythm, when you see guys that are like in a rhythm with their sanding, I just know that I'm gonna go like on
Yep.
the screws, and then I
Yep.
do this, and then I do that, and
That's
it's
literally
like,
how I expect to sand.
yes,
And sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes sometimes just the framing's bad,
hmm,
and the sander just runs over a high spot, you know, or the box. It's that's when the boxes aren't always the answer.
Hmm.
Sometimes you got to go back to the old ways of doing things, and that's not a bad thing. I don't think it's good to just be a tool finisher. I think you
No,
should know how to hand finish before you ever touch one of these things because you're not going to have an idea of how these work. But I also think the boxes can help you become a better knife or trowel guy too,
yeah.
because it gives you an idea of how you should be applying your mud and pulling your finish coats.
Yeah, I've started utilizing like flexible blades and then real stiff blades.
Yep.
Like I've
Yep.
got a super stiff 8-inch knife and I just run it like I would a box. Like I want from
Yep.
here to here to be flat, and then I'm
Yep.
just doing that as opposed to like
Yep.
the flexible, you're blending and you're doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I am probably right now I have cuts on me from yeah, see?
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
it because it's so fucking sharp.
Yeah.
And I keep it in my back pocket because it like rusts. Like you clean it, you wipe it
Yep.
off, and then you put it down, and then you come back tomorrow. It looks like it's from the 80s.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I buff it all up with my sandpaper again. But then
Yep.
because I do that, it is fucking sharp,
I have
dude.
a 6 inch
It's
that's just like that. I
like
had to
a
throw it out because I've cut myself so many
yes.
times with it. I just chucked it in the dumpster one day. I'm like, I'm tired of laying my hand open like every other day with this thing. Because I do
Hmm.
the same thing, keep it in my back pocket, and I'll swing my hand down or something and just catch the palm of my hand.
Yeah, I did that here where I went back and just stuck the corner of the knife into my hand, and I was like, oh, good.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, I'm going home. I'm done.
No, I'm not smart enough for that. I've got like
Yeah.
Avengers band-aids in the truck.
I've got like pink and purple ones with polka dots for my
Right.
girls.
Oh man. Yeah, the door of the Explorer ones were good. We
Yeah.
one Christmas she got like 4 boxes of band-aids, and I was like, what is
Oh,
going
really?
on with these band-aids? Yeah.
We got bluey ones right now.
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome.
Oh man. It's good to talk to you, man. It's good to see you.
You too, buddy. I'm just like beat up right now. I've been just grinding so much. I just did two houses at the same time and it killed me.
Oof.
Like I was talking to my uncle about it. I did it because he was on like a 300 sheet house and these are two like 4,500 board foot houses and they were pretty close to each other and drying was going to be an issue because
Hmm.
one had no power and the other one they were waiting on power but it was on the water. So houses on the water are always rough. So I'm like, well, I'll get this one up to second coat, then go bail, go over that one, and then got there, and then the homeowner's like, yeah, chirping at me, like, all right, I'll get you skimmed, and then I'll go back to the other one, and then it just you end up bouncing, you end up wasting more time, honestly,
For sure.
doing that, and you kill yourself because now I'm sanding for a week because I have two houses ready, and I gotta just sand my ass off for 4 or 5 days. It's awful. I hate it.
What are you using to sand?
Original Play Next,
Nice.
orbital style with a rigid back. Dust mask,
Rigid.
just go for it. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, we had the new setup, and my uncle would not admit to this, but he left it in his truck in the rain one day, and it ruined it. And it was under warranty, and he just never brought it in. I'm like, well, that was $3,500 out the window.
Hmm.
That was really dumb. But honestly, I don't like the Play Next 2.0. I don't like it.
How
It
come?
just slow and it really just the speed. It was just ungodly slow. I mean, it took 2 or 3 times longer to power sand a house, and the finish was fantastic. But I get
Yeah.
just as good a finish with the orbital Play Next. Um, and I can reach 10-foot ceilings with it. I can get into closets with it. I don't need a shrinking handle like that. That has never appealed to me. I can understand why, especially if you're doing lift work, you want a shorter unit to
Hmm.
work with in a house. I mean, it just didn't appeal to me. It really didn't. It even with the HEPA the suction on it was great, but you're never going to use that suction unless you're grinding popcorn off. You
Right.
know what I mean? And even when you do turn it up to reach, that thing's going to suck itself to the ceiling so
Yeah.
hard, it's going to take the mud right off. I didn't like that either. And didn't really like having the light on the head either because it shows you like your layers coming through and I ended up over sanding a lot because I would think it's like a ridge and I'm trying to sand it off and it was
Hmm.
just the layers showing through. So I'm sure over time I'd get used to it, but we only ran it for about a year and the sander actually ended up dying. The vac died because it got wet, but the sander died within I think it was less than a year, and we just weren't happy with it. Honestly, it just and you can buy those original Planex for 800 bucks. You know, when it's done, throw it out, go get another one.
Yeah.
And that's why I like them. Honestly, they're rugged. They just work. It's like a Honda Civic. They just go.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of replaced the Porter cable for us because we always use the Porter cables, and then DeWalt bought them out. The DeWalt suck. I mean, anybody that runs those, I feel bad for them. It's the same money to go buy a Planex.
Yeah.
You know, it's like almost identical money, at least up here.
I've been super happy with the Bosch.
Yeah, I
And
like the look of it.
dude, and it's got three pieces.
Yep.
So unless I like so when I'm doing ceilings, it's got the neck on it.
Yeah.
But even now, typically I don't. I hop up on those stilts and I keep it a nice shorty. And
Mm-hmm.
then kind of right where the neck like comes out into the articulating part, there's this
Yep.
like dope little like landing. And I
Yep.
just like rested on my
Oh,
hand.
yeah, something to brace your hand on.
So yeah, it's like
Yeah,
you have full control over it, right?
that's
And
nice.
yeah, and it's not as like you're not holding a 20-foot stick. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's nice and close.
Yep.
But I'm liking
I
that, man.
I did like that. I guess that was kind of nice with the other Planex was like if you're just doing 8 foot lids, you just
Mhm.
used the shrunk down version. That was really nice. And you had the extensions. You could reach, a 12-foot cathedral with it.
Yep.
But every time I put those extensions on and you get it up over your head and it's like flexing and
Yeah.
you're trying to keep pressure up there, I always ended up taking it back, taking it down to just the full size and jumping on stilts or a lift of staging and doing it that way. Like I never liked having it extended out because I always felt like I didn't have enough control over it.
Right.
Maybe it's just I wasn't strong enough to like keep it up there, but that's a long piece of equipment to hold over your head and trust that it's not ruining the work you've done. Because that's the other thing is it's so far away from you, you really can't see what you're doing. You're
No.
just praying that it looks right when you take it off the wall.
Well, and I mean, you've like perfectly put three coats
Right.
perfectly, and
Exactly.
and then you're gonna
Even
sand
if
the
you're
piss
using
out of it.
220 grit sandpaper, you could still leave it on there too long. And that was the other thing is every time I'd have the extensions on, I'd have to turn the suction up on the back.
Right.
That's another problem because now it's really sucking itself to the ceiling. Easily ruin your work, very easily. Now you're back up there coating it again.
So I must have had something stuck in the head of this thing, but I wasn't getting the suction I was looking for. So I cranked it up like
Yep.
for essentially if you were doing popcorn with it. And
Yeah.
then like I put it down, came back, and then whatever it was had figured itself out. And I was fighting it
Oh, really?
to like I want to go this way. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I turned it off right away. Like
Yeah.
I thought that suction would be a good deal, but it is like like you said,
It was
if
too much.
it's too much.
It's
Now,
too much.
it's not if you're using it for
It's
popcorn or whatever you're
right,
using
right.
it for,
Or
but
in like if you're working in hospitals or something where you need that HEPA factor. Like
yeah,
even and I didn't even think it needed that much suction. The vac itself works really good.
yeah,
Cranking the suction up just made it harder to work with, like you said. Like it's like
hmm
bites into the wall so hard you can't. It doesn't like float like it's supposed to.
right.
I did like the way that that the second generation Planix slid across the wall, like floated, almost like
Right.
hovered on the wall. But it just didn't, it just felt like it took way too long to sand for me. I would prefer to just go buy a friggin' cheap Amazon sander and
hmm
blow a house up with that and then just walk around with a headlamp on. It was still so much faster to do it that way. But everybody has their preference, I've done enough houses. I know what works for me, and I'm very confident in the way that machine works. And I'll continue to buy them until something replaces it. I would like to try the Merca. I
It's
It's one of
really
those things
nice.
though, it's like you gotta pay to play.
hmm
They're not cheap. And I don't want to blow money on one to not be happy with it.
My biggest thing with the Merca is it doesn't thump. Like
Oh, really?
you've got to go like push a button and make it do
Yeah.
that. Like I'm not stopping to do that
Yeah.
shit. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. The rigid, the thump is you pick it up, slam it on the ground.
Ah,
That's how you thump that thing.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's just the whole, it's like the disposable side of this whole thing. It's like those machines aren't going to last forever.
Yeah,
You know, if you get 2 years out of one of those vacs, in my opinion, that's pretty damn good.
it's paid for itself.
It's sucking dust up nonstop. Yeah, you're using bags, but it's getting through it no matter what.
Hmm.
A rigid vac's $85. I've got 4 years out of the one I'm on right now. It barely works, but it still works. I'm not going to replace it till it starts blowing smoke out of it, you know?
Totally.
So I'm just being cheap, honestly. But the thing just rides around the back of my truck or my uncle's truck, you know? And that's the other thing. Like, we're at this point now, I'm like, dude, we need to have like two or three of these Planex kicking around because we always both need one at the same time. So I'm either like trying to bum my buddy's Planex or grab a demo from the local store or waiting for him to finish power sanding his house so I can go grab it. We're just being cheap, you know? Just
Oh,
trying not to spend more money than we need to.
Jamie's one of these guys that's the opposite of that. Like he like call Jamie painting.
Hmm.
And he on his story the other day, he's like, his wife shows up with another unit. And
Yeah.
he's like, we got so much shit on the go. Like it just if you got two on the go and you're
Yeah.
using it all day, like
Oh,
what are
it's a
you
necessity.
dragging it around for? Every time you
Yeah.
take it out of the house and put it into the truck, there's a chance that you're going to drop it or break something or
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like it,
Just like a bazooka. If you only have one bazooka and that's your moneymaker, you're screwed the
mhm,
day the second one screw falls out of that thing and you can't use it. You
yeah,
know, it's a huge benefit to have two of everything. Definitely. Like
yeah,
right now, I've been using flusher heads for the past two houses because both my ankle heads are destroyed. Because
no,
one froze and cracked and the other one's gone. So I've been luckily had a set of Can-Ams, been running those. Do great. Sanding sucks because it's a little more sanding and it is slower to tube and flush angles. Not
it
a huge
is.
fan of that,
No,
but the finish is great. It's not much different than an angle head. It's just more sanding, you know. The angle head's going to give you a much straighter and tighter coat. Always will be my preferred way of doing it. But
my opinion on the angle heads is it's a box.
it's a box. It's a jig, you
Yeah.
know.
You know what I mean?
It's
Like it's
yeah,
it's doing it's that predictability thing again, right?
yep,
I know how
yep,
to hit all my angles because I know how I put my 3.5 inch on. Like
yep,
it's um when I walk up to a wall, I start in the one bottom corner and I go up, across, and down
yep,
the corner. And then I
yeah,
hit all the screws, and then bands and butts, and then I'm on to the
yep,
next wall.
yep,
If I was using a flusher, those like variations in the wall, I would totally kill myself doing that.
yeah. And you can
Because
see it too.
yeah, it's not consistent, right? So
No,
it's
it's
like,
not. And it makes sanding harder, you know,
mhm,
especially at least when you're used to sanding behind an angle head, which
yeah,
to be honest, if you're really consistent with how you're coating it, you go end to end on your runs, you're not stopping in the middle
mm-mm,
or lifting off. You don't have to sand your apex to that angle if you do it right. You could get away without it. If you've got a good painter coming behind you that puts a proper primer coat on it, you could absolutely get away without sanding the apex of your corner. Still do it. Still just brush it with a sponge, but it's
I've got my angle head here somewhere.
oh
It's
yeah.
yeah, it's doing a funny thing. It's okay, doesn't matter.
Mine I was having issues with mine. I dropped it and it kind of
Actually,
knocked it out of
I am
alignment.
gonna get it. Hold on.
Show me.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. For all the listeners, sorry, dude. When you close your angle head, right? Here,
Yep.
I'll do it this way. That peak, what you're talking about,
Yep.
you know what I mean? So when I come this way,
Is it
if
leaving a line?
no, if you look up that peak, the blades are actually below where this nosing is.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna go in and talk to Ryan and we're gonna readjust it. But
Yep.
I I'm always happy with my angles.
Yep. I've never
But
used a Columbia head. I'd like to try different brands. The tape decks have been good,
mhm,
but I've never just because it's what we have, you know. It's not like I'm biased on it. It's just what we've always had.
it totally. I'm in the position now where I'm banging out footage like crazy. So I'll go
Yep.
to like check my blades on the boxes and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. They're like
Uh,
toothpicks at the end.
yeah. So then now I'm taking a look at everything and I'm starting to
Mm,
see little like just little things where it's like,
mhm.
now is this still skimming mint? It turns out
Oh
great.
yeah,
Absolutely. But
definitely.
like
Yep.
you said, I spending more time picking those corners out with a angle sponge? Yes.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's like,
Oh, did I mute you?
no,
Okay.
maybe
Did
that's
you hear me crack my
classified.
beer?
No, fuck it. I don't care. I'm slugging out of a tequila bottle, dude.
I
You
was
can
trying to
crack
do
a
the cough
beer.
button thing.
Mhm.
I haven't been drinking much the past couple of weeks, just trying to be better about, not overdoing calories and shit. But
Mhm.
this weekend I'm having some fun.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I gotta get a new set of ankle heads. I don't know what I'm gonna buy. I was thinking about getting some North Star ones, but those are, it's pre-order thing.
Mhm.
It's like, do I want to wait? I just go online, buy a Columbia or Tape Tech set. I don't know. Decisions.
I mean, I'm
I know you're
biased,
biased.
but there's no bullshit with the Columbia stuff. Like, I don't know
Oh
what
no.
Tape Tech's like with their customer service, but like, I know that
Uh,
they're like a big
Junk.
company. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I say that. The one I had like we had one really bad interaction with them customer service wise
Yep. That's
5 years
enough.
ago, and it was enough to be like, fuck you guys. I'm
Hmm.
gonna run these till they're no good anymore, and then I'll move on. But it's like, Jesus, they still work great. It's like, well, maybe I don't know, maybe not that bad.
You're like, eventually, when these give
Eventually,
out,
you guys are fucked. You're losing my business, but
that's
not
right.
yet.
This will be the last purchase, and
Yeah,
then it sticks with you forever.
yeah. My extension pole's starting to fall apart. My bazooka is too. Like they're just worn out. It's 5 years old. I put 3 or 4 maintenance kits in it. It's ready to be replaced at this point.
Yeah.
The head's leaking. I mean, I just run the hell out of it. I'm doing 30 houses a year by myself with it. It's getting used pretty hard. But
Yeah, I mean, the first time I talked to Aaron about like, well, Steve from Whippy Drywall like took apart the pizza cutters
mhm.
and reinstalled the head and like did a great job.
Yep,
But then I'm like, how often should you be doing that? And
yeah,
he was like,
probably
if
like
you,
once a year, maybe.
that's exactly what he said.
Yeah,
Is, have your taper serviced once a year, man. And
yep.
it'll do you a lot of good things, loosen up, things like,
Yeah, it's good to just check it over, check screws. Every before you start taping.
mhm,
I always have screws backing out on everything. Some don't normally, and then one day it'll just be loose.
mhm.
And even when you Loctite them, I mean, you're putting so much stress on these things all the
Oh
time. Not
yeah,
necessarily the bazooka, but like your poles and stuff. The boxes, you're like leaning into it. It's flexing. It's shit moves.
100%. And you're gonna force it to, man. And it's that one little
Yeah.
like weird slip thing that does it. It's like hitting
Yep.
the curb with your truck. Like you can put a bunch of miles on your truck,
Oh
but
yeah.
you hit a curb or something, then it throws shit
Yeah.
out of alignment or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, CSR, right? They've got Ryan. And I remember one of the events, I think it was the Fresco Harmony event. Brad came to it and brought the head of
Yep.
his taper, dro
Oh
dropped
yeah.
drops it off, and then by the end of the event, picked his rebuilt taper head up.
No shit.
Like, why wouldn't people utilize that?
Why
Like
wouldn't you do
a
that? Yeah.
hundred bucks and it's running brand new again or
See,
whatever
we
it
don't
costs.
have that around here.
I
It's like I'm
know.
on my own, and that's where that having two of everything comes into play.
Hmm.
It's
Well, you almost have to.
we have to, yeah. We don't have a choice, and like we didn't really consider that when we moved on to the auto tools, and then we broke the bazooka. We knocked it
Mm,
down it fell 6 feet on the head, and broke the the tube that the blade runs through inside the head. It like bent the end of it, so we were just done, dead in the water, halfway through taping a 4 unit apartment building on a Friday. And my
perfect.
uncle was the one that knocked it over. I'm like, well, what do we do? And he just handed me his credit card. He's like, order one. Like, all right. So I overnighted that carbon fiber one. We just so happened to hit a deal that day on all wall. You could buy the carbon fiber one for the same price as the regular anodized.
Nice.
And but to be honest, I think the anodized runs better. It's smoother, it's a little heavier, but it runs way better.
Hmm.
But Randy ended up knocking that carbon fiber one over and breaking that one. So it's like, all right.
Jeez.
I mean, it works, but barely. It's just, we're hard on them. Just big dumb animals running around drywall houses.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. I've found with the carbon fiber, I do think that it moves better. Like
Yeah,
the mud is smoother coming in and out.
yeah.
Um,
The tape tech carbon fiber, like even when you feel the inside of it, like it's rough.
okay.
That's I didn't I don't know if it could be just me, but the anodized one just runs so much smoother. And
Hmm.
that could be just a brand thing. Like, but the anodized coating on the inside of the gold one is like slippery.
Hmm.
Like, and it hasn't worn off. The anodizing has worn off every other tape tech tool I have except the inside of that bazooka. Weirdly enough, the pumps are garbage after like a year. Like the
Really?
anodizing's gone. You have to rinse it out every day, like run water through it, or it just starts to stick. And but it still works. A little bit of maintenance.
I
Just
mean, I feel like such an asshole about my pumps, but I don't clean them.
yeah. I mean, I
I
didn't for a while
yeah,
until it got bad. Now I have to.
yeah, I see. I've not hit that yet. I cap both ends or I leave it in the mud and cap one end and it's
Yep.
always full.
Yeah,
So,
I did that for a long time. I think what actually got to wearing that coating off was all-purpose. Um,
oh, okay.
that all-purpose like dries, almost creates like a film on the inside of it,
And then you're
and
rubbing.
I basically pumped through it to just clean it out. You know what I mean? Like just being like rushing, and it ended up like rolling the gasket over on the plunger.
Oh
And I had to
shit.
tear it up. Luckily I had a kit with me. I tore the gasket, but when I tore it all apart, I looked down and I'm like, oh, it's almost like a looked like a layer of like primer on the inside of my pump. Like, what the hell is that? So I grabbed the toilet, scrubber brush and just
Yeah,
scrubbed the hell out of it with hot water and Dawn dish soap and took it all off, but all the anodizing was gone. Like,
right.
oh no. So I don't know if that's what did it, but that's when I first started to have a problem. It was like 2 years ago, I think, and it was one of those same deals. I did a whole job with all purpose and never cleaned the pump out. And then the next job, I had let the pump sit like over the weekend and started to use it again. And that's when it messed up on me. So, tore it apart. And that's when I saw I had like that film on the inside of the tube. Like, oh, that's not good. Don't do that again.
No more doing
Don't do,
that.
yeah. So that's pumps on the list. Poles on the list, angle heads are on the list. We did buy a new the matrix handle, the big one.
It's
That's
my
nice.
it's my favorite.
That is a nice handle. It's different. It runs very different from the Tape Tech. You need a lot of very light pressure on the brake. It's a little
Yeah.
different to get used to, but man, does that thing work good. It's
When
very light too.
you can adjust that like
Yes.
a little
Yep.
bit, but I
Yep.
like the way that they come.
Yep. I do
Um,
too. Yeah. After I got used to it, I liked it a lot. Because sometimes I like to just put a little pressure on the brake
yeah.
just to like kind of, depending on what I'm doing, especially on a ceiling or like running like verticals.
Oh
It's
yeah.
definitely nice to have a little bit of like a little bit of play with the brake for sure.
Did you get the carbon fiber?
No, just the
Yeah, okay.
standard one. Yeah.
So that is even lighter.
Mm.
I don't use that 3.5 or 3 to 5 handle for
No.
anything anymore, or whatever
Yep.
it is, whatever it is. The one that
Yep.
the basic handle, I've
Yeah.
got that short one, and
Hmm.
if I'm doing 8 foot, that's the only handle I use because by the time
Yeah.
it's extended, it's right where I want it to be.
Yeah.
And then anything above, I pull out that big one, and then it's
Yep.
like I'm right on it, and
Yeah.
I'm not like fully extended. I'm not reaching. It's like
Yeah.
um now, after they sent that to me, I looked at what it costs. It's like a $600 handle or whatever. But I
Yeah.
mean, if
That
someone were
was,
to
yeah.
ask me if it's worth it, I would say yes.
If you're doing anything over 10 feet, that is a necessity to
Yeah.
have that. Like I can reach, because I have that standard, I think they call it the extender, the tape deck handle. It's like 3 to 5 feet, whatever you
Hmm.
said. And I can barely do 10 feet with that. Like a 10-foot garage ceiling is stretching it.
Yeah.
And I'm also only 5'9", 5'8" if you ask my wife. But
Eh,
it's, but I'm in the same boat because I don't like using that handle on walls, so I always end up using that little wizard handle. I
hmm.
hate using that long handle on walls just because I feel like my hand's too far away from me. I don't have enough control over the box, so I've been thinking about just buying one of those shorty extendable handles because 8 foot you can do it everything.
Totally.
You have 8 foot ceilings, you're doing everything with that one handle. There's no stop time in between. And then I can do a whole room at a time. Because generally what I do is I'll do all the lids on the floor and then swap out to that wizard handle and then run around do all the walls. And then just, run around, make sure I didn't puke any mud out anywhere and then move on. But yeah, that shorty handle is definitely on my list.
It's so dope.
I gotta get one. I really do.
And like guys like you are dead laser straight, right? So
Try to
when you
be.
well, that's the game, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like when you're doing this,
Yeah.
now you've got like your
This.
your whole
Yeah.
body, your whole
You have
body
way more
is
leverage on the box, and it's this a quarter inch up here turns into 2 inches on the other end.
totally.
It's yeah,
Yeah,
it
so that
definitely makes
little
sense.
one, it's right in here, and you're just,
Yeah, that's
and
why I like that wizard handle. It's super awkward, and I think it's a shitty design, but
yeah,
it works.
yeah,
It,
it's tight.
it's the ugliest, worst design handle I've ever used. But once you get used to it, you can't hold it the way they tell you to hold it. You just can't. You gotta like hold the bottom of it and like
Oh,
grip it
okay.
on the bottom like a dick,
Yeah, nice.
basically. Just grab it. You know what I mean? But that's the only way I can use
You
it.
made a pretty tight fist when you said that, man.
Yeah, yeah. Average guy over here, but.
Oh, I love it.
That's why I think that's probably the next one I'm gonna buy is
Yeah.
that shorty for sure because most of the places we do a lot of apartments, a
Hmm.
lot of raised ranches. They're all 8 foot, some are 7'6", even 9 foot. I could probably almost stretch 9 foot with a shorter handle, but probably not actually now that I think about it because I have to stretch yeah, I don't know, probably not. I'm being ambitious, but
Yeah. Um, those stilts, man, the like 12 to 16 or whatever they are, have like
yeah.
changed my life.
Mm,
Where, on 9 feet, I just use that little handle. I just hop up on the
yep.
stilts and you're
That's not a bad
only
idea either.
this far off the ground.
Yeah,
Like
you
it's
can
not
run on those things. Yeah, I've got a set of those too, and
okay.
they're old Durastills, but it's so good to have those little shorties.
So speaking of doing silly shit on stilts, Danny's at the show
Yeah,
and I can't see the feet because he's behind like there's like a table or something. But
yeah.
the way his body is moving, he's moonwalking on the stilts. And I
What?
was like, get the fuck out of here.
He should have his own show.
Honestly, man. And then like walks around the corner and like sees a big bar and then does like a clean chin up with the
He's
big
jacked too.
oh dude, he is
He's fucking
built
jacked. I
like
would.
a
That's
shit
like
brick house.
he's literally one guy that I see online that I would love. Not even work with him, just stand in the corner and watch him work for a day and just get my mind blown at how fast. Like he does those videos, like, oh, it's 3:30. I'm gonna tape another one now. Oh, it's 4:30. It's all taped. Like how the hell do you do that? Like I thought I was okay. I
Yeah.
can tape 10,000 board feet in a day if it's like easy going taping. That guy would just blow me out of the water
So
easily.
that first day on out in Surrey, the idea was everybody upstairs is going to get their own rooms. We're going to do it our own way. Everybody can learn
Yeah,
everyone's process, and that became stressful because it took
yeah,
quite a bit of time for like
mhm,
singular people to finish
yeah,
their rooms as good as you
yep,
want it to because you're kind of
yeah,
showing off.
yep,
So now we're fucking stressed and we're like, okay, let's finish the rest of it as a team. And like and then Danny's just got this shit eating grin on his face. And
stupid.
that's exactly what happened. He just
Yeah,
like took off with this thing and it's like,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
as more and more people are done their rooms, Cam hops on the other one and
yep,
same thing, whack, 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 whack. And like I'm chasing them with the roller, just trying to like keep up to see what they're doing. And they're just
yeah,
like leaving me in the dust, man. It was
yeah,
fucking crazy.
yeah.
It was
Those guys,
crazy.
the speed is just mind blowing. It
It's the
really is.
accuracy with
It
the
is. That's
speed.
the other thing. Yeah, like you can be fast, but you can also
Oh
make a
yeah.
mess.
Yes.
And you can ride up on one side of especially doing your ceiling angles. It's so easy to mess those up. If
Hmm.
you don't having a reference point to look at when you're running those is key. And I line up the fill spout with the center of
Yes.
the corner when I look up it, and then I also am looking underneath it at the creaser wheel at the same time to make sure the tape's driving into the corner.
Hmm.
But you get up over your head. Like when I'm doing 9 foot now, my hands are like this, so I have no reference. I'm just
Right.
praying I've got it in the right spot. I can even do 10 foot, like in a garage. I'll muscle 10 foot angles off the floor.
Yeah.
No idea if they're getting in there. I'm just literally just throwing the tape up, but we make it happen.
Again, going back to those stilts, my top angle game was immediately fixed
Yep.
because the taper went from this to this,
Yes. Having
and
that
then
45 is crucial.
it's how it wants to run, man.
Yeah, it's
And
how it
like,
wants to run.
and I think how runny your taping mud is plays such a huge
Mhm.
in how the taper
Yeah.
runs properly, advancing the tape by running the wheel, like all of those things is
Yeah.
those things are not happening with thick mud.
No.
And you've got this heavy blob of shit on the other end of because you've just like
Yeah.
filled it, put it in, run it. You know,
Hmm.
when that's like wet mud, like soup,
Yeah. Yep.
that almost sucks it into place as opposed to weighs the tape down, right? It's
Right.
just
Well, it's
it's
hard to
so
push through
key.
that mud sometimes. Like when you're
Hmm.
taping angles, if it's real thick, that creaser wheel won't drive it into the corner like it's supposed to. When I
No.
tape flats, my mud is thicker than
Hmm.
angles. I always thin it out more when I get to angles,
Totally.
but you're only talking like one sponge of water.
Hmm.
I don't want it when I'm taping a ceiling. I don't want the mud to run off the tape
Hmm.
when I'm stringing it. Obviously, a lot of that is technique and only sticking one side of the tape up, so it's not you're not forcing it out, but you can still overwater your mud for sure, very easily. That's one of those things of just you know you got to do it 100 times to figure out where your thickness needs to be at, and just eyeballing it when you mix it. Knowing when you let off the trigger of the drill and you see a couple burps, okay, stop adding water. It's done.
Well, and like what the mud is doing in the bucket as well, right? Like as you're
Yeah,
spinning it, it changes. Like the
yeah,
spin of it changes, how it's being
yeah.
pulled down changes.
Yeah,
Like
the RPM
it,
of the drill changes. You can
mhm.
hear it. Like there's nothing weighing the drill down anymore. Okay, it's
There's
done.
like a touch and feel. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, man, in the beginning, there's stuff like that I don't think you get anymore like you did that like first year where you're running the
yeah,
taper and you're like, I fucking nailed this mud
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything just seems to be going perfectly.
yeah.
It's
Now
it,
you just
those
nail it every time, and
you
it's
just
just it's
fucking
just how you
yeah.
do it. Yeah, I was just thinking about that the other day working with because I had one of my other uncles working with me, and he was asking me how much water I put in. And I'm like, a lot. He's
Hmm.
like, really? I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, a lot more than if you're hand taping.
Yeah.
And I started pounding water to it, and his eyes are like, it's like, oh
Yeah.
my God. He's like, we're gonna use that. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that's not even enough. And he's like, no way. Then you like pump more water in. I'm like, and then you see like the burps, like that's where it needs to be. He's like, holy
Yeah.
shit. But
Clam
he's old
chowder.
school hand taper. He's like, and then
Yeah.
I just, blew his mind about we taped out a whole house in like 4 hours. He's like, holy shit. Like, wow, this is just it's just the way, we have tried, you chose to do it now, and it's tripled the amount of work we can put out, and the
Hmm.
quality stayed. That's what I've said the last time we talked about this. The quality stayed the same, and that's what kept us doing it. If the quality didn't stay the same or got better, we wouldn't have done this, and take the time to learn the tools. Because
Yeah.
it's quite a learning curve, especially, we had nobody to show us.
Yeah.
It was a lot of trial and error. 2 years basically of just fucking around.
I was fortunate enough that in the beginning I was getting sites that I had big, huge timelines on. They weren't
Yeah.
huge sites, like little
Yeah.
basements where I like had the time to fuck around and
Mm.
find out, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, but I think with like watering down that mud, I use that yellow box because it is so like it's so full of adhesive, but
Yeah.
you water it down to like clam chowder. And
Yep.
then by the time it goes on there, the water evaporates, it sucks it to the wall. It's full of glue. Like
Yeah.
I just think it's the perfect fucking match for what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Until something more comes out. Like we've been talking to Dennis from CGC and we're doing something with him next week. There's like a new product to spray.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that spray basically in one coat will get you to your level 5 and then it's also primed.
Really?
So I've never
Like
used
over
it.
tape?
No, 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 no. So you would tape it to like a level 3
Oh, gotcha.
And
Okay.
then typically
Oh,
you would
so
do 2 full coats with a sprayer and skim it and
yes.
stuff. With this, it
Gotcha. Okay.
sounds like you just spray it on, you let it
And it's
dry
primed.
and buff it out. Yeah.
No shit.
It's like 100
That's
bucks a
interesting.
box or something. Yeah. I can't wait to use it and then pick his brain about it.
Wow.
But yeah, I want to take kind of a hard left into CGC. We're gonna go and check out like the manufacturing facility. Like hopefully
Wow.
we do
That's
that
cool.
early this year. Yeah, we're gonna get 6 of us together. Like Brad's gonna come, and I'm sure Hayden will come, and
Yeah. That's cool.
yeah, the builder, the contractor I'm working with, he's gonna come. I think it'll
Yeah.
just be good, man. Just start, shaking hands and kissing babies in the manufacturing world. Just
Yeah.
I
You're
I
gonna
just
work yourself right out of doing actual drywall soon. You're just gonna be a
no.
face of it.
I don't want to fucking. You know what Brad called me this week? He called me the
No.
mayor.
The face.
He's like, you're the mayor of
Yeah.
drywall.
This is a town hall meeting right now.
I was like,
That's fucking
don't repeat that to anybody.
that's fucking funny.
Yeah, man.
That's funny. Well,
It,
he's like professor.
mhm.
That's what I would call him.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh,
I don't
dude.
know.
It's a
I,
it's a lot of fun, man. Like
oh yeah.
and I feel like I'm going down that rabbit hole of like everything works, but I want to like really start to understand why. And
Yeah.
I know it's going to be this whole fucking thing.
I don't think you should think too far into it because
Yeah.
you'll like overthink it, you know? If it's working, just leave it alone.
Yeah, because at the end of the
Just enjoy
day,
it.
shit is meant.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always worried about my quality and stuff. And when I talk to this guy, he's just like, this is great. Like, just continue to do this
I
and
do the
we're good.
same thing, man. And it's like I'll go because we used to prime almost every house we did, and then we went
Okay.
like 2 years without priming a house. And I really think every drywaller could benefit from priming a few of their own
I
jobs
wish I
just to
could.
see
Yeah.
what it looks like. And every time I overthink it and then we blast primer on, I'm like, nope, looks fucking awesome. Looks awesome. Okay, that solidifies the process I'm using. And then now I'm good for another 6 months.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, I hope this looks good. Then you leave, you get a check, never get a call. I'm like, well, it must have looked good. Then you prime one. Oh yeah, it looks good. Okay.
Well, yeah, like
Just keep going, you know?
the last 4 fucking houses, there's not been any nothing. No, not even feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah,
like,
same.
is everybody just mad? Like, what's going on? And then you ask, and people are like, no, that was meant.
The
Um,
only negative feedback I've ever got with auto tools was in the corners at the very bottom, and I wasn't going down
yeah,
far enough. I was like a half inch shy. He's like, just get down there a little further. And it was really me being lazy, not
yeah.
getting down there with a knife and cleaning them up. He's like, I had to like chip them out and skim them real quick before I put my baseboard down. That was real like early on, and never had that problem since. I got that one bit of criticism. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll make sure that's done.
Yeah.
Yep, always clean your bottom. One of those
So
deals.
my my angle process now with the box is I start at the bottom and I
Yep,
come up, right? And then I
yep,
start at the very top and then come all the way down and leave all that shit at the bottom.
yep,
And then I've got a clean 3-way for when I come back to it. And then all that shit that's on the bottom, I take my 4-inch knife and just drag it up.
yep,
And
yep.
and it and
That's
it
pretty much exactly how I do it.
it fills it, man. And
Yep,
and at the bottom, if it's a little bit too much, you fucking sand it, but it's not this like mountain and it's not
right,
missing.
right. Yep. No, that's uh that's a good piece of advice for anybody
Hmm.
learning to run an angle box is make sure you're getting as close to the floor as you possibly can and
Yeah,
clean it up.
yeah.
Okay, because your baseboard only has so much give to where it can flatten out, you know. It's got to have it has to be clean when they're putting their trim in.
And I think your 3-ways need to be clean too, man. Like
Yes,
make that diamond up at the top.
make it.
Start
Yep,
the angle head, go, and then when you
yep,
come back to do your 3-way, you've got a ridge now, man.
yep.
Like you've got a fill in spot.
Yeah,
It's mint.
yeah. I always look at it like screeding.
Yes.
You create the shape and then you just screed it off after it's dry.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And then, usually 2 coats over that, you're done.
Yeah.
And a lot of times if I second guess it, I'll do my last coat of my 3-ways after I power sand.
Yeah.
I'll power sand, jump up, scrape out with my knife, and then skim it because it kind of gets a little excess out of there. And then, you run around for 10 minutes with a sponge and just knock them out real quick. There's really not much sanding to do on a 3-way when we're done.
No.
You just scrape it out with a knife. If it needs it, just dust it real quick, back and forth, and you're done.
So when I do my tape day, I get in my angles and I essentially do the same thing, but I start from the middle of the tape because I'm wiping it, whatever.
Hmm.
But the tops, I wipe that perfect square out like
Yep.
to tape,
Yeah. Yep.
right? Now I know the tape is fucking bang on where I want it to be. And
Yep.
then when I do my screws, because I'll be up on the stilts now, I'm hitting the screws by hand and I hit
Yep.
every three-way
Yep. Same
and
thing.
they get
Yep.
done again when I do my 3.5, and I fucking
Yep.
have had no problems with it, man.
Yeah. And even if there is like one needs a little more, it's such a minor amount at that point.
Oh
It's a quick
yeah.
skim. You could almost just skim it and not sand it at that point and prime
Hmm.
right over it, you know? Yeah, I pretty much do it the exact same way. And if you don't wipe them tight, you end up having like that one little piece with too much mud behind it.
Hmm.
And that's when you get the like the curvy looking three ways. And that's what I look for. That's like one of the big things I look at after we prime is how do the corner look? Is it nice and
Hmm.
straight all the way into that corner on all three sides? You know, it's something a homeowner probably would never even care about, but we do it every day. You know, that's one of the things to me that sticks out in the finished process or the finished product.
I've got a 3-inch knife, but the one side is higher than the other side. Like it's got
Oh yeah.
a little bit
Yep.
of a hill on it.
Yep.
And I'll use that and I go in, put it in the corner and scrape away from it,
Yep.
right? Do your little thing and
Yep.
then do your three ways. I don't know, man. I just feel like it's the right thing to do, and they're nice and fucking crisp. Like, and
Yeah.
not all of them are good. And like anybody listening, like I'm not saying that everything is perfect all the time, but like
No, but
when you
shoot
find a
for
process that,
85%,
yeah, you know what I mean? Like
you know.
when you find something that like you know is a better yield
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
doing it, like it's just the way that it is. But again, it takes time. And like if you're quoting fucking dog shit, you don't have the time.
Right,
Um,
right.
and
Yeah,
it just is what it is.
yeah, we're like, we make plenty of money on our jobs. It's more of like
Mhm.
time. Like we have so much more
I was
work
gonna
to
say
get
you
to.
have so much
Yeah,
work
we have
though.
so much and it's stressful because like the one I'm on, we have four more sitting right now waiting.
Oh.
So there's two of us, but we both have two,
Hmm.
back to back. So it's like the one I'm on right now. It's a pretty simple place, 175 sheets. There's like 15 sticks of corner bead. There's a cathedral, but there's no rock on the cathedral, so
Dope.
it's just blow and go. So I'll have the whole thing second coated on Monday. 2 days to skim it probably just to be safe. Sand it out in a day. Scrape up in the morning, get out of there. Done.
We've got this
But
basement coming up and it's just like square 8 foot.
those are my favorite.
I'm so fucking stoked.
Those are my favorite. That's how the basement was on this place. It's like four rooms and they're just square.
Let's crush
Picked
it.
it out like 45 minutes, an hour the other day. Actually, I think I timed it, put it on my story. It was like an hour and 10 minutes, but I spent 15 minutes in the middle of that talking to the homeowner. I'm like, hey man, I'm like trying to set a world record here. You mind fucking off for a minute so I can get this done?
Well, I've got this like 12-foot bullnose bead, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking film this one, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as I set everything up, somebody's standing at the fucking door that my plank has a ladder in front of,
Oh,
and
really?
then oh yeah, and then like Brad comes and helps, and then I'm like up there fucking stapling it, and he's like
Yeah.
watching me. He's like, "Do you want a fucking hand? You look stressed." I'm like, "No, it's
Yeah.
good. It's good
Yeah.
though."
I'm just doing mayor shit, dude.
I'm just fucking trying to make a video. And like what are you supposed to say to people? Be like, hey,
Yeah. Yeah. Hey man, I'm trying to like do some Instagram shit here, dude.
quiet on the set.
Yeah. I have so many times. And not to poke fun at my uncle, but he's a big guy. He's
Okay.
350 pounds. He's got a beer gut. He's a big old burly old school dude. And I bet if I go back through all my videos, I could find a bunch of them where I've got my camera set up in a room, and then all of a sudden he walks in the doorway with his gut hanging
It's just
out, or he
this
bends over and his ass is hanging out. You know, it's just funny. I'm like, well, we'll scrap that fucking video.
make a collage.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I was like sneakily filming because that big cathedral that we had, Brad was taping it from the ground with a three-step. And
Yep,
then I was just wiping with a tomahawk on a stick kind of thing. And I'm just
yep.
like, I'm gonna fucking film it. And if we get like 10 seconds out of it, it's worth it.
That's all
And
you need.
we get to like the third. run of the taper, and Brad's like, I think I put it on my stories the other day, and he was just like, we should be making like a quick fucking little video or something. And I point at the trash can. I'm like, I'm doing it right now. And he's like, ha, ha, ha.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, man. Those
That's
are the
all you
best.
need, though. It's not like you need to like get everything. You
I
just
don't
need
give a
quick
fuck.
clips the way Instagram is now. People have such short attention spans. You just get clicks, you know.
Yeah, and like, I don't
I
know.
just like gave up on making content because I'm just like grinding all day. I'll do
I
like
go,
little ones here and there, you know. I should do more, but there's so much out there now. It's like, what am I gonna provide here? It's just more drywall, you know.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I go through little phases where I like do bang out a bunch of content again, but
Yeah.
then it's
Well, you
like,
have like an incentive to do it, especially with Columbia,
that's
you know,
true.
like
Yeah.
there's a huge incentive for you to do it. I have no financial incentive. I don't have a tool incentive. It's like if I did, yeah, I'd probably do it. But
Hmm.
even then, it's like it's taking time away, even though it's minimal. It is minimal, you know, but I just have that mindset when I get to work, I'm there to work. I
I
don't even
mean,
take breaks. I stop long enough to just jam some food down my throat, and keep going, and then,
yes.
but that's why I'm out of work in 4 or 5 hours every
Hmm.
day, you know, and then go to another one
Yeah, man. I mean, like when I'm making content all day, like that's where those 12 and like 14-hour days come from. It's
for
like
sure.
you're kind of thinking about where you want stuff, you've left a
Yeah.
room, and it's
Set
like,
your shot up, check it. Okay, yeah,
yeah,
looks good. Phone
that's,
falls over, something stupid.
oh, I know.
Didn't hit record. Fuck, now I gotta do it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was super tired the one day and I left this great big room. I'm gonna run the 12 and then I'm gonna come back and do my butts. Like it's gonna be this beautiful video. And then I get like halfway down the first run and I'm like, why isn't my music on? And I turn my fucking music on, which in turn
Shuts it
turns the
off.
fucking camera
I
off.
just did that the other day.
So mad. Because you can't do it again. We're not
Yeah, I know.
rerunning. It's
I
already
know.
there. I was like, okay, we'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's frustrating. I feel like especially like in your situation, it's like it's almost worth to just have a guy there to just film you all day,
That's where my head's at now, man.
you
I need
know?
to find some like fucking student or somebody who like thinks drywall's cool
Yeah.
and
Good
just like,
luck.
yeah, I know, man. And then
That's the
like,
problem.
what are you paying these people? I would like to get somebody who is eager and
Yeah.
excited and be like, this is the expectation of what we're doing, and
Yeah.
like make stuff that's marketable, and then whatever you can fucking sell is what
Yeah.
you're gonna get
Right.
paid,
You almost got to find a kid that like that's what he wants to do
little
is
sales guy.
video production and shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like not even a kid that wants to do drywall. It's like you
Yeah,
have
little
like
videographer dude.
little videographer guy just paying like a half a day. Like, what do you need? $200? All right, come on over. Let's do
Hmm.
this. And just film me and then pay him an edit fee or something, or just give me all the video you took, you
Well,
know,
because
just
I would
chase me
do
around.
that. Like
Right.
I would edit that.
Yeah.
Jamie's got this guy that he calls in. He does like real estate
Hmm.
stuff. So when he came with us, like
His
we
videos are nice.
they are really nice,
They're
and
really
it's the
nice. They're well done.
that's this guy, right?
Yep.
And $100 a reel. He does
Yep.
like, two or three per visit kind of thing, so it's worth
Yep.
everybody's time. And then he gives them to you like that night. Like he goes
No
home.
shit. Oh, so he puts the whole reel together and
Yeah,
everything?
he does
That's cool.
everything, inserts music, does all kinds of cool
Wow.
stuff. I had him do a troll one for me, and like it was interesting because I wanted to see the process of like just trust someone else to do it. It turned
Yeah.
out pretty dope, but there were
Yep.
things that like I wouldn't have done. And
Yeah.
I think hiring a camera guy, not necessarily an editor, is the
Yeah.
way I want to do things. I
Yeah.
just want a ton of raw footage.
Yeah. And then you can sort through it and
Yeah.
create your own content with it. Yeah. I think that's probably the best bet. I think scaling up is when that starts to get hard. Like if
Hmm.
you grow, you know, obviously I don't know how far you plan to go with this. I think keeping it small is the simplest way, but
Hmm.
lucrative wise, if you were ever to like expand, that's when it gets really complicated.
Yeah. There are daydreams about doing some big stuff or like, creating an umbrella and like, because we're doing a lot of stuff that, people are coming in and I want everyone to be like safe and paid and taxes are taken care of
Absolutely.
and like
Yeah,
all that kind of shit.
absolutely.
But the second any of that gets implemented, somebody else is going to handle everything that I'm not
Yeah,
doing. I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
taking on extra anything. You're going to
yeah.
hire somebody that does a good job, and the day they don't, you fucking fire them
Right.
and you get a new person. Like
Yeah,
it's and that's just the way that it's going to be. Like
yeah. Well, you have an expectation of what they're going to provide.
Mhm.
If they don't, move on.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
it's
just like
well,
hiring guys, right? Like you say you can do it, put them to the test. They don't hold up to the standard that you want, move on.
well,
You know?
that's one of two things, and they're both just as concerning, right? Where one, you can't fucking do it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
You've lied, you've said that you can and you can't,
Yeah.
or you can do it and you don't give a shit enough to do it.
Right. Right.
And both of those things are like a exit stage left. Like,
Yep.
because if you
Right.
don't want to be here, or if you're not
Yeah.
ready to be here, and
Yeah.
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, I think
But
drywall too, it's like, at least like in my area, it never fails. You like go into a store or even on a job, some, electrician shows up, never seen you before. Like, oh, you do good work. My buddy, he's a killer drywaller, man. He ain't even got to sand his shit. I'm like, oh yeah, I bet it's awesome. But that's the guy that he would beg for a job. You give him the job. You show up, okay, give you, let's see what you got. And it's 9 times out of 10, it's not what he says it is. And those are the guys that want big money, don't put up the work that's worth the money. There's so much of that in this area. Just these, fly by night guys that buy a fucking couple knives or,
mhm,
trowel and say they're a drywaller, or they work for their buddy taping a couple houses and now they think they're a drywaller. Drywall is one of those trades that you can easily like poo-poo away as like not a real trade until you put paint over it. And then you go, oh, I probably should
exactly.
have hired a real drywaller.
But at that point, they're gone. They're paid
Right.
and
Oh
out the
yeah.
fucking
They usually
door.
got their check early.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I see a lot of that.
Yeah, they've
I
taken a
gotta get I gotta
draw.
get paid up front. They'll put enough tape on to justify getting a down payment and then they'll bail.
Yeah,
See that a lot too. We get calls for that shit a lot.
yeah,
Like, yeah, we need like it's either we gave him a third up front, he got like so far, hadn't seen him again.
yeah.
Or paid him early, didn't finish the job, can you come finish it? Or it's all fucked up, can you come finish it? And every
Hmm.
time it's a hard no. Find
Well,
somebody else.
when people ask me to come do that stuff, I tell them that it's like my full pricing. I don't care if they have two skims on the wall.
Doesn't matter. Yeah,
It
full
it
full
is
price.
it is full price, and then
Yep.
there is a corrections
Yep.
hourly,
Yep.
and
Yep.
people say no. So and all
Yeah.
I do that for is so I don't have to argue with some idiot that it's only fucking like you'll be done
Yeah.
in two
Oh,
days.
yeah. All you gotta
Like
do is skim it. Yeah, no, that's not really how it works because I don't
no.
know what the tape coat was. How good is that tape? What happens when we throw paint on this and everything starts to lift? You know?
So the site that I started all of that on, um, this guy had a whole basement done, and instead of carrying 8 foot sheets down the stairs, he cut
Oh no.
all of them into 4 foot pieces
Oh my
and
God.
then railroaded the whole fucking thing.
Oh my
So
God.
it was like now this is how I think the universe is weird was because I had just figured out about splitting butt joints.
Yep.
And I was like, I should get better at doing butt joints. And then sure enough, this asshole calls.
Oh, I think I remember
Do
that
you remember
job.
that? It was
Yeah,
like
I do remember that.
150 butt joints or
Yeah,
something. It was
that'll
something
get you good at butts.
crazy.
It'll
Um,
either get you good at butts or really bad at butts
so
because
I
you'll
like,
throw quality out the window just to get through the job.
right? We're either going to get real good or real fast. Yeah.
Real fast. Yeah, or yeah, maybe both.
So I took the footage and broke it down into days. I was like, this should take 7 days or whatever. And at the
Yeah,
end of every day, you are going to pay me and I will show back up tomorrow, whatever it was, 300
that's the
bucks or
best
something.
way to do that. Yeah.
So I get in there, I finish taping the stuff that wasn't taped, and then
Yep.
I run my 10-inch box. And then I run I think I did 10s either side and 12 down the middle. I think was the way that I like pretended I knew what I was doing back then.
Yep.
And when I ran that 12 down the middle, all the fucking tapes started falling off.
Oh no.
So they saturated, right? So this guy did like a
Oh
slop
no.
box, but he did the whole basement's worth of tape. And then by the time he was finished, it was dry. So he was like,
Uh,
yeah. So I'm
oh, so
like,
he like strung it all up and then
mhm.
it was just tacking up before he could get back to it. Oh my
That's
God.
the guess. That's the
That's the
guess.
guess. Yeah. That's probably pretty accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So like he comes downstairs, he's like, man, this is looking real good. what's going on here? And so I pulled it and it came off. And then we looked at each other. And then I went over to the next one and I pulled it and it came off. And I
That's
was
gonna
just
be the
like,
worst feeling in the world. At
sorry,
least for
bro.
him, not for you. You're
Well,
still
and
gonna pay me at the end of the day, right?
I was super upfront about the whole thing. I was like, if it was up to me, I would tear all this shit down and start again because we don't know what's happened. This guy
Right.
doesn't know what he's doing, obviously.
Yep.
And I said, or flip the coin, man, because when we hit a checkpoint and it's fucked and we got to start all over again, then I just want you to
Yeah.
understand that's what we have to do. And he
Yep.
made the decision. And I mean, like probably 40% of it was good,
Yep.
but like the rest of it all had to be corrected.
Yeah.
We tacked another day on. It wasn't a huge
Yeah.
number.
Yeah. And that's not a huge killer. If it's a whole
No.
house, absolutely, that's a
Yes.
huge killer right there. But a basement, yeah, one day. You could
Yeah.
easily just fix that in one day and move on from and be back on schedule.
Yeah.
I had it's on my Instagram. It's that house I had gone to. The guy called me. He had a contractor finish out his basement. It's just like two big rooms basically. And he's like, everything's going great until he got to the mudding part. Sheetrock went up and then he started mudding it. He's like, just didn't look right. I'm like, okay. He's like, just I needed a second set of eyes. I said, okay. So I went over it. All the tape was like cracking on the edges. I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Hmm.
He goes, yeah,
No.
look at this. He's like, it's pink behind it. I'm like, oh no. He had glued all the paper tape down. I'm like, and he had
Oh,
primed it too to try to like hide it and or fix it. I don't know what the hell the theory
yeah.
was with priming it. So it was all paper tape, but his corners were like that inside corner bead. It's like metal in the center with paper
Yeah.
face. All that was glued down. So I'm like, he's like, can you just like fix it? I'm like, the only thing I can do is tear it, all of it out. Luckily, it's only like two rooms. Like
Hmm.
tear all the tape off. Luckily, he had like literally sanded almost all the mud off and primed it. So it was basically like hollow flats. The butts had nothing on them. I'm like, I'll strip the tape, retape it, coat it, and sand it, and then you'll have to reprime it. And just gave him a I don't want to do this price basically.
Hmm.
And they're like, yeah, when can you do it? I'm like, I'll be over tomorrow afternoon.
And you know what? When I
Had like
sent,
11 hours in it, the whole thing. It was
yeah,
like, tit, made a ton of money. And they were happy as hell.
my like absolutely not number, if somebody wants to pay that, my mood
Yep.
changes automatically where
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
immediately.
yep. And
I
you've now
made
paid out the fucking nose for this, and I'm going to take my
yeah,
time and it's going to look
yeah,
dope.
yeah. I made like 2 weeks of pay in a day,
Yeah.
basically, is what that
Right.
came out to. Because I had like it was like 10 or 11 hours total I had in it, and I did it in a week after because I had a job I was on. I was leaving there by like 1 o'clock, so I just leave there, and it was right up the road. Bang that out, go home. At
Yeah.
the end of it, I think I sanded it out on a Sunday morning for him. Just to, like I took Saturday off. I was like, I'm tired. I'll be over Sunday. Just got it over with. Took the next week off. Like, yeah, I don't really need to work this week.
Um, so this house that we're doing in the other side, the existing house, down in the laundry room, basically 4 feet up, they cut it's painted wall. And
Yep.
they just cut it all out and then they like installed a vertical, basically a bulkhead, but it's quite big.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the bulkheads got bored on it, so we had to tape around the tops and stuff. But from
Yep.
that, like painted to new was this like, it must be painted 100 times
Oh, yeah.
for the difference.
Yep.
So I took 6-inch fiber fuse and taped it with the 6-inch fiber fuse,
Oh, yeah.
and it turned out mint.
Did it?
And yeah, I came back with straight Durabond 90
Yeah.
and skimmed it all out tight, and it basically took all the edges off of the
Yeah.
right, and just kind of built this base. I went back in today with an 18-inch tomahawk. I troweled it, tomahawk, and it's fucking dope.
Nice.
And
Dude,
that's
Five
just
Fuse is amazing.
I love it.
It is amazing. And honestly, I like the regular Five Fuse over the Max. The Max
Yeah.
is too thick. It's hard to work with. I just used it yesterday on this job I'm on around the tub. I'm like, I don't like this stuff. Like it is really rugged. Don't care for the like woven in plastic in it.
So
It's way thicker than paper tape too. It's
if somebody is like telling me to do something to the absolute pinnacle best that I can do it,
yeah.
I'll use fiber fuse max on the butt joints.
Yes. Yeah,
and
definitely
that
use there.
it's the only fucking place that I'll ever use it.
Yeah,
And it's like, yeah, man, if that you
yeah,
want, if yeah, I will if
yeah.
you want.
That or like a crack that keeps coming back. Cut it
Same
out,
deal.
refill it with
Yeah.
straight bond. Then I'd throw that over it, maybe
Hmm.
just for an added sense of strength. But like how thin five fuse is to me the seller of it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to work with, and it has like there's no like high spot to it. It's like part of the wall when you put it on almost. It's so nice to work with.
Well, and when you're doing it with hot mud, it like swells up a little bit,
Yeah,
right? And I feel
yeah,
like all those little fibers are just sticking into fucking everything. Like
yeah,
it just becomes
yeah.
part of it, right? And
It's like rebar and concrete or
that's exactly
fiberglass. When
it.
you infuse fiberglass with the resin, it's the same thing.
Hmm.
That's actually what reminded me of it because when I before I even got even thought about drywalling, I worked for the Hinkley Yacht Company. I was doing boat hulls, and
Oh,
it was
nice.
all fiberglass and carbon fiber, Kevlar shit, and worst job I've ever had in my life, by the way.
Yeah,
But
miserable.
that was a huge part of it was fiberglass and carbon fiber. The molding stuff, doing boat hulls, and it's like using hot mud and fiber fuse is like the same thing. It's like you're soaking it into the hot mud and it's bonding to the surface that you're putting it on, and it's all like bonded together to it. It's not like mud, tape, mud over the top of it. It's like all soaked together. It's really nice. I guess it's really cost wise, it really isn't that bad if you were to use fiber fuse on everything. I wouldn't probably angles, it might be hard to do angles on a whole house with fiber fuse. I wouldn't do it. Doesn't seem
Pass.
necessary. Yeah, pass. Exactly. Done it. Where I did it in a pinch because I ran out of paper tape and I had a roll of five views. So I taped the garage out I taped the angles. Honestly, it came out great. It wasn't like
There are people
it was
that
a little harder
swear
to
by it.
run. Yeah.
Y-
I could see how it would hold up really well. Cost wise, I mean, I don't know. And you only it's are they 250-foot rolls? I don't even know. Are they 100-foot rolls?
They've got a bunch of different. They've got a great big one though.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think when I was first using it, it
I
was
don't
like
think it
100-foot
fits in the
rolls.
taper,
Yeah, see, I think that was why I was like, this probably wouldn't work because I'd have to like keep popping rolls on constantly.
right?
And then the cost wise, it's like $7 or $8 a roll versus two for
Hmm.
paper. But yeah, good shit. Love that
My
stuff.
my only thing about angles with it is it splits.
Yes,
When you fold it,
when you fold it, yeah,
it
it's easy to cut
splits.
too. Very
Hmm.
easy to cut in a corner. I've done it like little patch jobs, and I like put it in a corner, and you like try to wipe it out, and it just digs right in, cuts it. Like, well, that was a waste of time. Tear it up, put paper
Cool.
in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Nice try, Josh.
Next.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, we did a site and it was angles with five fuse. And then when you're trying to like wipe it with a like a 2.5,
Yeah.
like an angle head, you are just tearing the
Oh, yeah,
fuck
I
out of
bet.
that
Yeah,
paper.
I bet.
And I'm
Now
sure
you're
it's a
picking it
process.
up in the tip of the angle head
Oh,
too, take
and then
dragging it
because
around.
of that, dragging through all the shit, like I'm sure there's a process and I'm sure you get used to it if it's your process. But like
Yeah.
jumping in onto something like that was just like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Like,
You'd probably have better luck with that on angles if you were using a flusher head,
yeah,
smoother. It's like gliding over it rather than like a sharp corner. But
yeah, it was interesting. It was,
yeah.
but I mean, for flats and butts, man, you can't beat it,
No,
especially on ceilings. Like
yeah.
there's
And
no chance of pockets. There's
I don't
no,
know if you've noticed this too in a bazooka, it does not drag. At
no
least with me, it
with
doesn't
the
drag
five
at all.
fuse.
Yeah, it doesn't like I noticed it on ceilings the first time I used it. I'm like, holy shit, like because I always leave like a tag end when you're running across the ceiling because you know it's gonna pull for like the
Hmm.
first couple feet. And yeah, that was the first thing I know. And it wipes out so easy. Like you can just like touch it and it wipes out.
Yeah, and you're wiping through it too, right? And the nice part
Yeah.
about that is if you've got a long tape or whatever and you're
Yep.
wiping out, you just like a half-inch drag to the left, it cuts the excess
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and then you're fucking out of there.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
smart.
dude.
That's
Yeah, it's
smart.
because you don't leave fucking tail ends everywhere.
I wouldn't say that. You just don't see it because I don't post it.
Yeah. The only thing that I'll say about running the taper with fiberfuse is when you're wiping down and then depositing back into the bucket that's running through
Yes,
the pump,
I've noticed that.
you're
It gums up the
sending,
bottom of your pump
oh
very
yeah,
quickly. Yeah,
which
I've noticed that.
which to me means it's in the pump too, which to me means so on and so forth. So like
Yeah.
again, on those perfect sites, I'll have like a deposit bucket
Yep.
and
Yep.
then I'll mix that into fucking bead mud or something
Actually,
later.
that's probably not a bad thing.
Well, and it's got the fiberglass in it,
It's
so
got the fiberglass in it.
it's not a
Yeah.
fail, but
That's a good way. That's a good use of it. That's
mhm.
smart.
But like
But
90% of the time I just send it through the fucking pump because I'm like,
yeah.
oops.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Well,
By the
what
time
else are you
that
gonna do?
by the time that like flickers of fiberglass have gummed up a pump enough to go buy a new one, it probably doesn't owe me anything.
Yeah.
You
I
know what I'm
mean,
saying?
even realistically, you spend the money to buy a whole kit. Within 6 months, it's already paid for itself.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, really, within a couple months, you probably pay for it. It's but they're also it's one of those they are expensive. You got to
Hmm.
take care of them. I wasn't great about taking care of my tools in the beginning. Learned very quickly. Even if you don't wash them, don't leave them in water. Leave
No.
mud in them. Don't leave them in water. That's something like my uncle's horrible about. He just leaves them in buckets of water. I'm like, dude, just stop doing that. It drives me nuts. You just walk into the job with a bucket of water sloshed around with his boxes, and I'm like, dude, why don't you just like blow those things off when you get home, or just buy a freaking pack out that's airtight. Just leave them in that. That's
Hmm.
what I do. If I don't have time to blow them off, I just throw them in the pack out. They're not going to dry out. I mean, they're kind of gross when you pull them out of there, but just clean them off. It's just being lazy.
I got contractor
Tired.
bags. I fucking put them in
Same.
the contractor bag. I
Same.
roll them
Yeah.
up.
I do that with my bazooka all the time. It's my
Hmm.
bazooka sitting on the job right now with the head wrapped in the contractor bag. I'm just too lazy to go blow it. It was too cold. I didn't want to go outside and pressure wash it. That's all it
So
was.
bazooka day, that goes in the garbage bag, and then it goes directly into the shower with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I just like spray myself off, spray the
That's
taper
actually
off.
smart. I mean, you're already getting in there to get cleaned up anyways. You might as well just blow it off.
Oh yeah, man. And then I don't
I
give
got
a
into the
fuck.
habit of I bought one of those. It was just a Ryobi battery powered pressure washer. And
Yeah.
I have jerry cans full of water. I keep a jerry can right by my truck. And as soon as I got into the habit, walk right out while it's wet and it has a rinse function. It's not even pressurized. It's just like a high pressure, like shower head. And it
Nice.
just blows it right off. Done. Grease it up real quick,
Um,
throw it in the truck.
Last summer I had a couple of sites that they let me use the hose bib and there was
Yep.
landscaping that was going to get done. And it was like if I was stopping for lunch, I would walk
Blow it
outside,
up. Yep.
super quickly splash, and everything is back to normal.
Yep.
It was like this is mint. Spray with the oil, go do whatever the fuck you want. Like
Yep.
it's
And when they're
yeah.
still wet, they clean off super fast.
No, it's
Like it
just
takes nothing to blow them off.
yeah,
It's when you let them sit and it starts to like tack up. That's when it's hard to clean them. And
yeah.
then you're like pressure washing them. And I don't think pressure washing the bazooka is a smart idea. I think that's when you start losing screws and needles. You know, I've done it. That's how I can say that's probably a bad idea because I've lost screws and needles many times doing that. Just hitting it with way too much pressure to squeeze dry mud off of them.
Yeah, you're
There's
trying
got
to
parts scattered around my yard.
take
It's
the
not worth
paint
it.
off it. Fucking
Yeah, I mean they're clean, but they're missing parts at the end of it. That's one of Tape Tech's faults is screws just fall out of their tools when they're brand new. You gotta like keep right up on them. I don't know about other
really.
brands. Yeah, it's awful. Like every Tape Tech tool I've had, I mean within the first couple jobs, screws are falling out. It's a pain in the ass.
Only ever once, and it was with an angle head. I lost that little screw,
Yeah,
that little tap screw.
I'm
The
surprised. You'd
the
think that
only
wouldn't walk
I
out.
I was fucking around.
Yeah.
I just don't think I put it in back in properly. Like
Oh yeah.
um because when I first got these angle heads, I took them apart down to the skeleton, right?
Yep.
I just wanted to whatever make content. And that was the only time ever, man. And I've like I don't mean to tell anyone to beat the shit out of their boxes, but like I
Yeah.
have not been super amazing with them. And
No,
I've
I'm
not
not.
had any fucking problems, man.
Me either, man. Like they're pretty resilient tools. Even the bazooka will like really take a beating.
Hmm.
Even the angle heads, I have taken some hard hits on screws and not chipped the blade. Like
Really?
angled at the blade like
Yeah.
flipped up, and you hit the backside of that screw, and still looks fine. I mean, hit
So,
it hard, like stop the angle head,
oof.
like ooh, like make you go, oh no, that's like a $350 mistake. No, still good. Set the screw and keep rolling. Probably just dumb luck, honestly, but it's, I'm sure I won't get that. I've nicked spotter blades many times. I actually just started cutting up old box blades, like Brad was saying.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that is brilliant. And I just went and bought a hacksaw and brought it to work and we started just cutting up blades. Like,
Zit,
that's
zit,
brilliant.
zit.
Yep. Made like 10 of them out of old used blades. I'm like, perfect. So now if I nick a blade, I can just pop another one in. It's
Hmm.
perfect. That was great advice.
Yeah, he's full of good advice, man.
He's a thinker. He's a good guy to have around.
Oh, it's having a Jedi on site is fucking dope.
Yeah. Well, he's got the mayor though.
I know. I think the only thing better than that, did you ever watch the Blacklist?
I don't know. I don't
So
think so.
this guy's name is Raymond Reddington, and he knows everybody who's everybody who's everybody,
Oh yeah.
right? And he's the bad guy, and like he like puts people together, but he's always got like a thing or whatever. So Steve from Whippy Drywall said that I was a Raymond Reddington of fucking
Yeah.
drywall, but I think the mayor is a
Yeah,
more
I like
appropriate
it.
thing, which is
Yeah,
fucking hilarious, and I do not believe that, and I think it's stupid, but
I think it's great.
it is a fun
I
thing.
think it's great.
Whenever I think of the mayor, I think of like some fat guy from a Dr. Zeus movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, like big, like distended belly,
Yes.
tiny little legs.
And I'm like, I feel attacked.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh, we're creeping up on 2 hours here, buddy. What are you thinking?
Oh, I think we did good.
I think we did too, man. It was good to
I'm
hang
tired. My
out.
back's killing me.
Same. I'm
It's
ready for
starting to get
bed.
worse as I'm sitting here. I'm not getting any younger, and my body's starting to tell me that.
I know. When people talk about that exoskeleton and like they're talking shit about it,
Man,
that
you know
that
what?
that feeling you're
I
having today.
I don't talk shit on that stuff because longevity is the key
Hmm.
to doing this and being successful for a long time. And that's even like, especially with hanging, I think that would
Yeah.
be ideal. I was just talking to my wife's uncle today. He's a builder down in Southern Maine. They do, huge houses. And he's like, watching these guys hang sheetrock is incredible. So they have, gangs of Mexicans that come in and just throw up a house in a day and a half.
It's
He's like,
nuts.
it's insane. He's like, before 9:30 coffee break, they've got a whole floor almost done. It's insane. Like, yeah, I mean, just the two guys that do ours, they'll do 100 sheets a day by themselves. I mean, just cranking. If it's an easy house, they'll easily throw up 100 sheets in 8, 9 hours. They'll just crank it out. But they're like, they'll show up at 5:30 in the morning
Hmm.
or earlier. And then if they didn't get to where they want to be, they'll work as long as it takes to get them, to like a good stopping point so they can have it done the next day or within a couple of days. Because there's so many contractors around here and very few good hangers and drywallers. So the guys that are like good and worth it are very busy and they're
Right.
stretched out amongst all these contractors. So speed
Well,
is key.
and there's something to be said for that too, man. I would really like to have like 2 sites a month.
Yeah,
And I would
absolutely.
and just
Two
fucking
10,000 board foot
smash
houses a
them.
month would be sweet.
Yeah.
That would be like perfect. And you could make really good money
Yeah, and
and take your
crush
time
it
too.
and take
Yeah.
a fucking week off, man.
Yeah.
And catch
Yeah.
up on your fucking life. Like,
Yeah. Dude, I'm taking
yeah,
a vacation in 2024. I took a long weekend to Florida with Sarah in
that's
March.
fucked.
Actually, while you guys were there, I
Hmm.
think it was in March.
It was a
Missed you
week
by like,
prior or something. Yeah.
yeah, a week. I think it was the week after. I
Yeah.
think
It was sad.
we were just there for like a 4-day weekend. That was the only vacation I took this year, and it's like the year's gone. So I got to make a point to take some time off next year. I think I'm gonna go buy a boat. I think that's what I'm gonna
Jesus
do.
Christ. Okay. Well, invite me
Yeah.
down. I'll play on your boat with you.
Oh, come on down, dude. It'll be fun.
Fuck
Or I'll come up there. I still gotta get my passport shit figured out, but I'll come up and do some mudding with you.
yeah,
It'd
dude.
be fun.
Come hang out.
Be a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I love keeping in touch with you on Snapchat and like,
I
it's
know we talk
always,
like every day, but it's like
yeah,
actually sit down and have a full conversation. It's
it's
nice.
totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally different. Yeah. It's usually like shit jokes or something on Snapchat, but
I know, right? That's some of my favorite shit to do.
that's the best though. You
What
just,
do you
yeah, we won't go into it, but yeah, it's the best.
I
I
sent one
always
of
it cracks me up.
I sent one of those to Nate, and he was like, "I can't believe you just did that." Like, welcome to the club.
Oh,
Um,
that's so funny.
all right, everybody. Make sure you go buy your cam t-shirts. They're still available.
Oh, I got to get one of those. I'm
Yeah,
glad you said that.
yeah. If you're gonna do it soon, so you still get the mud pan and the gift card.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Who's it?
Um,
Who's it
see
through?
it CSR.
CSR. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get on that. When does that end?
The shirt's gonna be forever.
Oh, okay. Right
But
on.
the shirt with the mud pan and all the extra stuff's $50. And
Okay.
then the shirt itself's 39 or something. But like the stuff you get with it is worth more than the $50 to begin with. It's
Yep.
just all been donated and then the money goes to Cam's parents. So
Right on.
yeah, man,
Yep.
and
I'll pick that up.
they should start getting banged out soon. And yeah, dude. And then anybody
Awesome.
listening to this that has bought a shirt, take a picture or a video of you wearing the shirt, and I'm gonna make a big reel. So that'll be
Well,
cool.
I'll make sure to get my shirt, take a picture.
Bang bang.
Bang, bang. CT.
Um, oh, okay. So watch this. Oh, it doesn't work.
What are you doing?
Too bad. So when I do stuff with Cam's brother, we do all the fucking stupid stuff, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
the AI makes us do it or whatever. And he went like this, and it does like a laser show behind you.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, I was gonna do that as a
No.
finale, but it sucks. Anyways, HighCut Drywall on Instagram. Are you anywhere else?
No. Just Instagram.
Yeah,
Just
you
do it for
go.
fun, man.
Yeah, you can go on there and see nothing because you
See
don't
some of my hack jobs. Yeah. 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 It's all from like 2 years ago, but
but
you get some stories on there once in a while.
the dopest straightest work, man. Like I remember
Yeah.
what was it, like a week ago, Brad reshared your thing and said this is a thing that I did.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
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 I was just like, that's the biggest fucking compliment ever.
Yeah, that was rad.
Okay, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me,
Uh
buddy. Always fun.
Everybody out there, be humble, treat everyone the same, and do your fucking job.